All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and this is the biggest day perhaps in my life. El micrófono que se puede escuchar todo, señores, señores. Ay, no, no puedo, es muy incómodo para allá. Escúchame, wait for a second. Tú sabes, esto haciendo mi show todos los sábados a las 8. Tú puedes irse para allá en la habitación para hacer, o terminar eso. Okay, now I'm back. Look, tonight is going to be a hell of a thing. And I really don't know the extent of the damage, the amount of the death that's going to happen in America and around the world. I did not know this. I have predicted, and I have talked about the volcano in St. Helens in Seattle, the California quake, and the Madrid fall. And I knew of other ones, you know what I mean? Historically speaking, I did not know how powerful Mother Nature can be and how powerful it is in interrupting and the life that we live. And I am really seeing true devastation coming not only to America, and it cannot be stopped, it cannot be overruled. It is a must to happen. And the number of lives that's going to be lost is going to be tremendous. Tens of millions of lives. The economy interrupted. The outward flow of wasted money is going to be coming back to America to repair itself. Enough of trillions, tens of trillions of dollars going outside of America to help Israel or to do this and do that. Every country now is in the crosshairs of divine judgment. Make it known and make it clear I am not fucking playing. This is a catastrophe in the making. That's not an if, it is just simply when, and that when will happen by the end of this year or during these months up until the last day of December 31st, 2025, and going and going and going into 26. We're looking at devastation beyond your imagined fucking nation. Japan just got hit. Pakistan just got hit by a flood that, where the fucking water is coming from? China has gotten hit. And they're building, that they're using the material to build bridges and highways and byways are all being made with fake steel that you can snap with your finger. So China is not doing well. Japan definitely not doing well. And the idea that Fukushima, the nuclear reactor that was that happened so many years ago, I think over close to, if not 2 decades ago, somewhere around there, is still leaking radioactive water in the ocean, the Pacific Ocean to be exact. And that plume of radiation has already been entered America, going all the way over. You know, the concentration higher on the west coast like California, but it dissipates over the distance. But still very havoc. It's a havoc, and it's very dangerous to people's ability to survive that. I mean, your whole body is being radiated, and the food that is coming out of the Pacific Ocean is being inundated with our own food. For example, let me say this. Let's say that there is no accepted radiation level. But let's say that, and for a fact, that the tolerable radiation level is like 6. I don't know exactly what it is. A long time ago, before the Fukushima radiation took place, but let's just say it was like 6. And I don't know how they measure it, but just for argument's sake, they say 6. The what agency? I think it's the FDA. I don't know what organization that is in charge of that. But now the tolerable radiation level is 100. You're talking 33 times the level. No, we're talking about what, four, uh, 3 times? No, 30 times? No, we got 6 and you got 100. Oh shit. That's like 18 times. I'm sorry. Yeah, so it'll be 18 times the level of tolerable radiation that is now being accepted into our food supply. And the Fukushima is not the worst. We have fallouts in America where they are spilling more so than Fukushima, but you're not going to be hearing that down there in Florida, down there somewhere close to New York. And to be honest with you, America has been bombed already with nuclear bombs. It bombed itself in the act of testing nuclear bombs. So at what point does this white boy wake up and realize he done fucked up the whole goddamn planet? There are, along the Madrid Fault, 15 nuclear power plants. You understand the magnitude of the damage that can happen when, not if, but when the Madrid Fault happened, when the one out there in California happened, the San Andreas Fault. And they are now looking at not only Mount St. Helens, but but we're going to cover that too. But I'm thinking of the geyser. I can't think of the name of the place, um, but we're going to be covering that too. National something national park where the geysers and stuff are. We're going to be covering that, and Vesuvius and the Ring of Fire. All of these things I did not know. I heard of them, but now they're very active and they're very, 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 very dangerous to our civilization as we know. America is not going to be the same. Guarantee you will not be the same after the Madrid Fault happened. Just imagine if the Vesuvius, I'm sorry, the Madrid happened, the Madrid Fault, that did 1,000,000 square miles of damage. Happens. And what about St. Helens? What about the national park where they have the geysers and stuff? I can't remember the name of it, but we're going to cover it. And then the one out there in California, not including uh, uh, the Ring of Fire. So tonight is very important, and I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm not trying to get you all riled up, but use your fucking head. Use your fucking head, because once you're in the problem, it's going to be very difficult to get out. We are talking major financial, economic, and political fallout in America and the world. See, Mother Nature is done with all the bullshit for white folks, with all the bullshit of black folks, with all the bullshit of everybody. She is upset, and she's gonna make it known how she gets down. Gonna make it known how to correct a motherfucker. Gonna make it known how if you don't or continue to do what you're doing even after the disaster or hell breaks loose, this is a divine interruption, a divine calling, a divine punishment, so to speak. And My God, we're gonna see. But what we're gonna cover tonight is a couple of things that are happening. Hey, what's up, brother Emil? I really appreciate you being here. Uh, okay, well, whenever you can, no problem. Oh, okay, okay. Well, that's cool, man. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You can always come back and watch the video. I really appreciate you and whoever else is here for being here. But yeah, it's just mind-boggling as to how the warrior goes on and on and on, not even thinking about divine judgment. And it has happened time and time and time again. The one in Pompeii in 79 AD with Vesuvius mountain, one of ash, and killing all of them trying to escape. The one in China now been inundated to the utmost. Bridges and houses and skyscrapers falling down because of poor construction. Using steel that's not even steel, you can break the motherfucker with your fingertip. Building bridges with foam and covering the outside of it where it looked like concrete and steel is not steel. Man, I just don't know. But we will know, and I believe in the human spirit going to rise above it all. I believe and I know that the black man and woman are going to be the one to save the world because that's how we are. We are the parent and the guardian of every civilization on the planet. And the planet is going to become aware of who we are. We are the holy of holies. Perfect? No. But there's no other people who are like us. We are the gods of the world, of the universe, and we are the filtered down version in human form of the black universe. Point blank, no more discussing about that, no more thinking about that. The world is waking up to the reality of who the real Jews are as if they didn't know it before. And just the whole night. And I'm hearing too that Spain is allowing our forefathers, who were the real Arabs and Muslims, the Moors, to come back. Now they allow these fake ass Jews to come back. I don't know. I'm gonna have to talk to my rabbi in order to see if that door is open for real Jew in Portugal. I would love to be able to do that and have not to live there or become a citizen, but to be able to travel and to see Negro Village where our Portuguese forefathers were at, and the whole nine. But we're gonna get it started, and we're gonna see some things that are happening in Africa, like that dumbass motherfucker from the Congo, the president, giving away America to America all of its riches for what? For nothing. Cooning ass motherfucker. Like you couldn't go to the AU to resolve that shit with Rwanda and whoever else. You gotta run to this funky ass tail growing motherfucking white boy who's laughing in your goddamn face. See, this is the problem. We are a blessed people when we are united. Nobody can beat us. The only people that can beat a black man is another black man. Period. If you study history long enough, you will come to that conclusion. They've never beaten us. They've only beaten us when we are divided. It's like four fingers. If you're trying to fight with one finger, it's very different. But if you ball that motherfucker up, just knock the shit out of them. And this is what they do. They are playing the Wizard of Oz game. Pull back the curtain, bitch slap the shit out of them. Everything cool. They get right in line. My boy, still my boy, he said, Brother Marie, he said, if you whoop enough ass, everybody will get in line and do it. That hit me, and I would never forget that phrase. That is so true. If you kill, on top of it, if you kill your enemy, you never have to worry about your friend. That's like one of the basic laws of power. 48 laws of power. You know, if you're a religious nutcase, Christian, Jew, whatever the case, put down that Bible, put down that Torah, put down that Quran, beat the fuck out of whoever you need to beat or kill them, and come back and pick up your Quran, your Torah, your Bible. That's how we get down. If you ain't right and if you ain't doing right, we're going to beat the fuck out of you, and if it's necessary, kill you. Just that simple. There's no more discussion. There's no more no. No more kumbayas. See, we kill these white boys, white wannabe white people, because they're not white, out of Egypt. And the queen at that time, the queen, the pharaohess, I guess, that's how you want to call the woman pharaoh, she said to these motherfuckers, after getting them out, when your motherfucking funky ass back here, hey, you were wrong. Then you're not coming back. Understand? The same thing happened in Greece and Rome. During the Hellenistic period and during the Egypt period, they call they call when white people, they're not white, but when the Persian came and took over. I forget that period of time, or what that period was called. But the Greek and Roman was called the Hellenistic period. They fucked it up. They don't know how to run shit. They run shit into the fucking ground. That's what they do. They are just that stupid, foolish. White people don't know how to pour piss out of a boot, even if the direction said turn up. They're incapable of understanding the mechanics of a civilization. We do. Every civilization on the planet was created by black folks. Not one was created by these so-called white people. Hell, white people are only 150 years old. They just started speaking 1,000 years ago. And that is with the awful good help of black folk, and they're still getting fucked up. All right. So without further ado, I want to try to go through these because I've got quite a few. Because I'm really committed to making this as plain and simple as possible, because the hate has to stop. And the only way the hate is going to stop is if we kill enough mother. Not we, but Mother Nature is on the rise, waking up. There's no running anymore. You can't run. You got to stand where you stand and be where you be and hope you survive this moment. Because I'm telling you, it's not a matter if, but when. And that when is going to happen by the end of this year or during, from this day forward. Remember what the fuck I'm telling you. From this day forward, all hell will be paid. And going into 26. Now, how long it stays and how long the tragedy happened, only God knows. You know? So let's get at it and hold on. And try to be as precise, because I love being precise. You know that right now. And what that means for us as a people, black folk. I'm talking about black folk. I ain't talking about them phony ass Latinos, motherfucking wannabe Arabs over there. They're not real Arabs anyway. They're real Arabs that have always been black. But we're gonna get to it. So hold on, let me see where this is gonna. Okay. So now, with all of this happening, what is happening, and all of that, I want to take a quick look at China and how they building these buildings. All right, and I'll be right back.
Ways, bridges, tunnels, and skyscrapers rising almost overnight. But beneath the surface of this breakneck development lies a devastating truth: widespread tofu dreg projects.
Tofu dreg, meaning they ain't made of shit.
It's all covered in today's China truths.
Foam-filled railings. The man in this video says, this wobbly project is a classic tofu dreg. Inside this railing is foam. Just scratch it lightly and you'll see. What kind of project is this? This is on Minju Road.
Y'all about to know
Inside,
it.
it's all foam. The inside really is foam. Scratch it and see. What kind of project is this? This recent incident involves the railings along a river in Chengdu, Sichuan, being found completely filled with foam. According to the local water authority, the railings were built in 2014 by a contractor named Xia Jiangchang. Officials are now investigating and confirming the details with the builder. Later, a netizen provided an update. After discovering this, we immediately started an investigation. The project was built in 2014. We contacted the contractor, and the leadership is verifying the current condition with them. The contractor is searching for related construction documents, but no official conclusion has been reached yet.
It's unbelievable that roadside railings would be made with foam. Have you seen the video? Are you as shocked as I am? This happened a week ago, but no response so far. I predict it will be swept under the rug again, turned into a minor issue. I just want to ask, where's the contractor? How much money did the inspection team take from them? Do they dare let us fully investigate this? Damn it. How can you make money this way? Don't you fear nightmares at night? Aren't you afraid that someday your children might lean on this railing and fall?
In this video, which was posted on April 1st, 2025, a woman in Jiangsu exposes a bridge built 6 years ago that has seriously deteriorated. She says, "This bridge was only built in 2018. Take a look. It was constructed by the Daoying Henan Road Construction Company. Just look at the quality of the railing along the edge of the bridge. This spot might have been hit by vehicles, but even the parts without collisions are just as bad. It's truly a trash project." Next, a video reveals exposed rebar beneath the Huarang non-station tunnel. A man openly calls out the developer by name, saying to Zhongjin Joint Stock Company,
"This is the Huarang non-station tunnel you built. It's only been a few years since it opened, and now the rebar is completely exposed. Both sides have uneven subsidence, turning it into a genuine tofu dreg project. Is this your responsibility toward the national railway sector and the people? This is the product you investigated and claimed to be up to standard."
This shocking revelation raises serious concerns about construction quality and oversight. If such critical infrastructure is deteriorating so quickly, how many other projects might be hiding similar defects? Just days later, on February 14, 2025, a newly opened bridge in Jingzhou, Hubei, tilted dramatically, only 1 day after opening. A witness said corners were cut, scaffolding wasn't fully removed, and the bridge was already leaning. Others mocked it as a tofu dreg bridge. Though no casualties occurred, the video shows the deck clearly tilting. Excavators and cranes were brought in for urgent repairs. Authorities admitted the issue and said the foundation would be fixed before reopening. The cause remains under investigation. The bridge had been completed less than a month earlier. Many netizens suspect material skimming or overly lax inspections during construction. Others argue that in recent years, many projects have been handed to unqualified contractors with connections, leading to poor quality. Everyone knows bridges and roads are critical public infrastructure directly linked to public safety. Yet this bridge failed so soon, revealing serious flaws in design and construction. Therefore, the question must be asked, have the relevant authorities been truly rigorous in inspections? Most Chinese citizens are losing trust in the legal system because of widespread corruption, a lack of transparency, and serious negligence by those in charge.
Hold on.
This frustration is evident in a viral video showing authorities forcibly demolishing illegally built homes on land owned by Country Garden in Longzhou. Many viewers commented that these illegal homes often seem stronger and better built than official projects carried out by the government or large construction firms. People are asking why major infrastructure projects like bridges and high-rise buildings frequently experience serious problems, while these self-built homes, though unauthorized, have lasted for years without major issues. The concerns extend far beyond small-scale projects. Take, for example, a highway under construction in Zhejiang province that developed widespread cracks even before opening. A local resident captured a video saying, Even tofu dreg projects don't get this bad. This is a highway. Right below is our village. The foundation has cracked completely and even collapsed in parts. The road into the village hasn't opened yet and hasn't passed any inspection. In other words, the contractor must already know about this. After that, they will just fix it themselves. On February 19th, 2025, a sudden and mysterious deep pit appeared on a flat section of the northern road in Huaihua City, Hunan Province, turning an ordinary street into a dangerous trap. This unexpected damage has sparked questions about what caused it and whether the roads in Huaihua are beyond repair. But infrastructure isn't the only area under scrutiny. Defects are even found inside residential buildings, turning essential components. Into tofu dreg hotspots. Quality of homes in tofu dreg projects. At one apartment complex, a man complained, "Don't blame my window. Look at this. See, I can pry it open with my hands. What kind of developer builds a house like this? People pay millions of yuan to buy a home, but it turns out to be a tofu dreg project. Look at this wall. Scratch it with your hand and it crumbles immediately. Is this even a wall? See, this is the house. Should we report this or not? What do you think? Look at this house. It's no surprise if it collapses. How is this acceptable? If a window falls out later, don't say I installed it poorly." In February 2025, homeowners in Changning, Hunan Province, reported cracks in the load-bearing columns of their underground parking garage. One resident explained that last summer, water started leaking throughout the garage, from above, from below, and even through cracks in the floor. Water seeped up through the cracks, and in some areas, water was even coming out of the columns themselves. In some buildings, the supporting columns have sunk, and parts of the structure are now so damaged that the floors are uneven and full of potholes. And yet, these homes were only handed over to the owners in recent years. This man said, "Look at this. See it? You can pry it off with your bare hands. Right here, this is one of the support columns in the parking garage of Zone D, Tanzhou Country Garden project in Daning. This is what a real tofu dreg project looks like. Look at the rebar. It's bent out of shape. The concrete crumbles just by scratching lightly. What kind of project is this? Poor durability. Inside, it's mostly mud. Is this really a load-bearing pillar? If it collapses, who will take responsibility?" Another man lamented that his house, built in the early 90s, is barely 30 years old, but already has cracked reinforced concrete slabs. He explained that steel inside concrete rusts, expands, and causes cracks, difficult to fix. While steel structures can last over 100 years, and concrete ones about 50 with maintenance, his home is already deteriorating. Rebar is exposed, cracks are everywhere, and the building may soon become unsafe. A different video shows a woman documenting the very first day she moved into her new country garden apartment in Baiyun. Everything seemed fine in the morning until noon, when wastewater had already flooded the kitchen and spread into the living room.
Wow.
She wrote, "The country garden property management in Baiyun allowed sewage to backflow into my brand new home, causing serious damage. Yet the management has refused to take responsibility." And in yet another video, a resident from Country Garden's Gangwon complex captured footage of wastewater surging back into the apartment, soaking belongings worth hundreds of thousands. The resident posted, "I had just moved in yesterday. Today everything is ruined. Give me back a home. Give me back justice." Vanka, once seen as a benchmark in China's real estate industry, is now in trouble. In January 2025, a homeowner in Suzhou exposed a Vanke-built apartment with a crumbling main beam, comparing it to a tofu dreg project. The beam near the kitchen door was turning into sand. Just brushing it caused pieces to fall off. He couldn't even find the steel reinforcement inside. From bridges to homes, China's construction crisis has become a matter of public safety, not just poor workmanship. These failures point to deeper issues: corruption, weak oversight, and a government prioritizing speed and image over safety. Millions now live in fear, having poured their life savings into buildings that may not last. The question is no longer if another disaster will occur, but when. What will collapse next? The building or the system itself? If this video raised questions or struck a chord, leave your thoughts in the comments below.
Please share your thoughts in the comments section below.
Now, this is what I am talking about. Throughout China, this is happening. The unemployment rate in China is like, for the young and the middle-aged people, like 70%. You talk about corruption. This is it. And, you know, with the advent or the passing of the vaccine, they were being forced to take it if you didn't take it. Can you imagine some authority knocking on your fucking door talking about open up? If you don't open up, they'll damn near kill you. And force you to take the vaccine. And in other videos, they are admitting that the overflow of death is overwhelming the morgue, and there's really no place to bury these people. Hundreds of thousands, because you know the population of China, I think it might be close to 2 billion people. But you know, I'm not going to say that for sure, but I know it's for sure 1.5 billion, somewhere around there. Definitely not less than 1 billion. So let me get out of here and see what's up with the next one. And this is another one. Lasts about 10 minutes. But with all of these videos that I'm going to be playing, put the pieces together. Corruption to the highest degree, government stealing, not paying attention to nor repairing the roads, highways and byways and bridges as it's being done in America. Over $30 trillion in wars, money being spent in wars that can go back to America and make America great again. I'm not a Trumpster or MAGA. But goddamn, at what point do we wake the fuck up and force our representatives to do their fucking job? I can honestly tell you, white boys don't know what the fuck they're doing. They're stealing that money. $4 trillion came up missing when the plane hit the Pentagon, and all that information went up in smoke. Let's continue. Oh. Look at that. Look at that. Through the roof.
It's all covered in today's China trees.
Guys, please give me some advice. I'm really out of options. I haven't even spent a single day in this new house I just bought, and now what am I supposed to do?
Forget the crying. Crying won't help. You still have to repay the loan no matter what. At this point, no advice will work. If you want to fix it, you'll have to tear it down and rebuild it from scratch. China's tofu dreg construction projects have long been heavily criticized. Online, videos of poorly built houses and bridges constantly surface. But what's even more shocking is that even the most basic components at construction sites, like bolts, welds, and rebar, can be faked. Let's take a look.
I really couldn't believe it. The man was doing maintenance work on a signal tower several dozen meters high. While checking, he casually touched a bolt, and it snapped clean off. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence, but then every bolt he touched broke just the same. Good heavens, is this because the bolts are counterfeit or due to long-term corrosion? Look at this stainless steel bolt. Something this small can even be fake. See these bolts down here? These are the real ones, completely different. Time has proven the difference. This bolt looked like stainless steel at first, but turns out it was a fake.
Building a house is a major undertaking, and yet even something as fundamental and crucial as welding can be faked. In recent years, buying a home in China has become incredibly difficult. Many people know this firsthand. But even after pouring your entire family's life savings into a home and finally moving in, there's no guarantee an accident won't happen someday. Every minute and second I spend here is torment. I feel like the house could collapse in the next moment. The entire building's safety is at risk. I've spent my whole life working hard, and now all the money has gone into this house.
This windowsill was filled and finished with tons and tons of foam. Look, this kind of foam just falls apart with a slight poke. No strength, no hardness. It's turned to powder, and after it crumbles, it looks like this. This cement sand layer here, just rub it lightly with your hand and it falls right off. Look, just a light rub and it crumbles instantly.
Ceilings in apartment buildings across mainland China are truly fragile, and there's real-life proof of that. A man once accidentally stepped through a ceiling, creating a horrifying scene. And this isn't an isolated case. In the Yuechuan North Resettlement Housing Project in Sanya, Hainan, China, an upper floor ceiling was found to have no rebar at all, an absolute textbook case of a tofu dreg project.
I believe if you break this open, it'll be just the same. This is no lie. If you dig here, it'll be the same situation. As long as you guys can take care of it, that's all that matters.
Bamboo and steel are two materials that are fundamentally unrelated. Yet in the communist country of China, they seem to have a rather close relationship.
Look at this bridge. My God. Are they really using bamboo instead of steel? A slab this large has only 1 or 2 pieces of rebar, and even those are just loosely suspended bars.
Here is a concrete column from a residential building somewhere in China, but what's exposed inside isn't steel, it's bamboo. So what's the quality of rebar in China like? The truth might scare you. On June 26, 2025, according to a report by mainland media outlet Langchao News, at the large-scale residential project Guoyun City Phase 2 in Bezhou, Hebei Province, several 16mm diameter rebar rods were reportedly snapped barehanded by workers.
Try another one. Look at that, shattered into pieces.
Mr. G, the project foreman, discovered that a batch of 16mm rebar was so brittle it could be snapped by hand, an abnormal condition. As such, steel should be hard even to bend. He reported it to the Guoyun City Phase 2 contractor, China Metallurgical Tiangong Construction, but was shown a report claiming the rebar met standards. When he escalated the issue to Bezhou's Housing Bureau, officials said all materials passed inspection. Later, they claimed 2 rounds of testing confirmed compliance with design requirements. Mr. G was eventually dismissed for speaking out. Netizens reacted, "Start by investigating those who called it up to standard." Some noted the contrast between honest workers and corrupt officials. Snapping steel by hand and replacing iron with bamboo may sound absurd, but such cases are real. In fact, some collapsed bridges were found with no rebar at all. On August 8, 2024, the Longding Shuiyan Bridge in Guizhou suddenly collapsed. No rebar was visible at the fracture point. In another part of China, the exit of a highway tunnel collapsed. Fortunately, it was discovered in time and no serious casualties occurred. Netizens commented, "The CCP's construction projects are the very definition of tofu dreg engineering. Look at the highway foundation. Can anyone spot a single steel bar in those videos? These are projects costing 1 billion yuan per kilometer. Why do so many directors of transport bureaus and highway departments end up in prison? As long as the CCP's dictatorship survives, the Chinese people will never be truly safe." Due to continuous heavy rainfall, on June 3, 2025, a section of road in Sanjiangdong Autonomous County, Luzhou City, Guangxi Province, suddenly collapsed. Several cars parked along the road fell into a massive sinkhole. On June 24th in Guizhou Province, a viaduct on the Xiaorong Expressway between Sandu County and Rongjiang County suddenly collapsed. Several vehicles plunged into the valley below. A red semi-truck was left dangling in mid-air, its driver trapped, waiting for rescue. A bystander tried to stop other drivers from moving forward. It is reported that the trapped driver was eventually rescued safely. Some netizens sighed. "Just saw a video my colleague sent on their way home from Yulin, Guangxi. Their route was completely cut off. COVID, typhoons, floods, earthquakes, natural disasters nonstop. In these turbulent times, we've finally realized what truly matters most. Treasure every step you take." Why are there so many tofu dreg construction projects in China? The answer still lies in the political system of the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. Zhang Zhenglin, a construction worker from Yunnan province, personally witnessed severe material skimming and illegal design alterations during the construction of a high-speed railway tunnel in Kujing City, Yunnan. He shared with an overseas Chinese language media outlet, "When building a tunnel, you first have to excavate the cavity, then pour concrete and install rebar. But during the construction process, the amount of rebar and concrete was significantly reduced. Based on my rough estimate, for a 1,400-meter tunnel, 20,800 meters total for both directions, the value of the materials cut was over 20 million yuan." He also revealed that during the concrete pouring of the base arch, there was serious underfilling. The base was padded with dirt and construction waste. The concrete layer, which was supposed to be 150 meters thick, ended up being less than 50 centimeters. Each month, Zhang's boss even told him to use the excavator to steal rebar from the site and load it onto large trucks. His own father asked him to help with the theft twice a month, 5 to 6 trucks each time, with each truck carrying more than 40 tons. He added, "To win bids, companies often submit offers below actual construction costs. So after winning, how do they recoup the money and still turn a profit? The answer is cut corners. Reduce or completely skip materials like rebar and concrete. It's a widely accepted unspoken rule in the industry." Zhang Zhenglin concluded, "The shady side of China's construction industry is just the tip of the iceberg under CCP rule. It's the system that breeds all of this. Chinese officials are appointed from above, and their top priority is always to report upward, not to be accountable to the people or to the actual work itself. And this only perpetuates a vicious cycle." Chinese investors are fleeing to Japan as real estate collapse accelerates. Market consulting firms report that with investment returns in China plunging, global investors, especially those from Hong Kong, are rapidly pulling capital out of China and pouring it into Japan's booming residential real estate market. According to the South China Morning Post on June 22nd, data from global real estate management giant Colliers International revealed that in Q1 this year alone, Chinese investors poured $1 billion USD, about 7.119 billion yuan, into Japan's residential sector, more than double the 5-year average of $428 million. Masahiro Tanikawa, head of investment services at Colliers Japan, didn't mince words. As China's real estate market teeters on the edge of collapse, Hong Kong investors, once fixated on China, are now rushing to safer havens like Japan and Australia. The SCMP report noted that since 2020, China's property debt crisis has spiraled, and over the past 24 months, new home prices have kept plunging without pause, driving investors to flee. Mindworks Properties, a branch of Hong Kong's Mindworks Capital, recently acquired Haven Shibora, a high-end multifamily apartment in Tokyo's Minato ward, marking a clear pivot to Japan. As China's property sector crumbles, more and more wealthy Chinese are not just moving their money, but moving their lives. By the end of 2023, Chinese residents in Japan hit 822,000, up 60,000 from the previous year, the biggest jump in recent years.
Look, I'm not going to play it, but I do have something similar to this. There's a massive flooding going on in China. There's also a business called Evergrande, and it is flooded with fake false real estate empire that is on the verge of bankrupting China. Now, I can't remember the name of the head guy of China, Xi Jinping, something like that. They're fine, they got billionaires that living the life in China. It is just that the average citizen can't find a job. They're living out in the streets. Prostitution is going out of style, I guess. People can't find jobs. If they do find a job, it is menial at best. So this situation, when you see all of these videos, guys, this situation is very dire. On top of what is going to happen, it'll just be one problem on top of one problem on top of one problem, and tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people are going to die worldwide. That's guaranteed, if not over a billion or a couple of billion. But I'm just saying conservatively, we're looking at the least a half a billion people dying, up to, and perhaps more than 2 or 3 billion people dying. So we're going to get to that, and we're going to cover that. So, now this is the guy that sold out the Congolese people and gave all of the resources to that bitch ass motherfucker in the White House as Trump, making white folks rich and continuing the recolonization of Africa. It's a damn shame. But I truly believe that there's a greater purpose in all of this. And that him and the president of Rwanda, Kagame, are just bitch ass motherfuckers. Still have that mentality of the coon. So I'm going to let this play out. Let me see what we may go. Science, and this is where the next video we're going to start getting into the volcanoes and the tornadoes and the earthquakes. That's going to really, really, truly fuck everything up. So I'll be right back.
Of the Democratic Republic of Congo has committed an unforgivable act of betrayal against all Africans. In a move that will echo through history, he has literally handed over Congo's most valuable resources in return for empty promises of protection. Can you believe the sheer audacity? What drove President Felix Tshisekedi to make this devastating deal? And what does this catastrophic decision mean for the Congolese people and all of Africa? Let's expose the shocking truth together. My beloved African brothers and sisters, I need your complete attention today. What I'm about to share with you will ignite a fire of righteous anger in your hearts. The Democratic Republic of Congo, our Congo, a nation blessed with unimaginable riches, holding the world's largest deposits of cobalt, coltan, lithium, copper, gold, and diamonds, has once again been sold out by those sworn to protect it. On June 27, 2025, beneath the glittering lights of Washington, D.C., the foreign ministers of the DRC and Rwanda put pen to paper on what they called a peace agreement, brokered by none other than the United States. But here's what really happened. President Donald Trump openly bragged that this deal would give America control over a lot of the mineral rights from the Congo. This wasn't diplomacy. This was daylight robbery dressed up in fancy diplomatic language. This agreement, wrapped in beautiful words about peace and economic cooperation, is nothing more than modern-day colonialism. It's the continuation of the same brutal exploitation that has been bleeding our continent dry for hundreds of years. As someone who believes deeply in African unity and independence, I stand before you today filled with rage, heartbreak, and an unshakable determination to speak the truth that needs to be heard. Let me paint you a picture of what we're really talking about here. The DRC, home to over 110 million of our people, sits at the very center of Africa's mineral empire. This single country produces 70% of the world's cobalt, the essential ingredient in every smartphone, electric car, and renewable energy system on the planet. It controls 60% of global coltan reserves, the critical component that makes our modern digital world possible. Its vast territories hold massive deposits of lithium, copper,
gold and diamonds. We're talking about resources that could easily make Congo the wealthiest nation on earth. But here's the tragic reality. For decades, the Congolese people have been robbed of the wealth that lies beneath their feet. Instead of prosperity, their country has become a battlefield, torn apart by wars fought over the very minerals that should have brought them abundance and peace. The M23 rebel group, which everyone knows is backed by Rwanda, has seized control of eastern Congo's resource-rich regions, including strategic cities like Goma and Bukavu. The United Nations and the U.S. State Department have repeatedly accused Rwanda of supporting M23 to steal Congo's minerals, generating millions of dollars every month through illegal mining operations and sophisticated smuggling networks. Faced with this crisis, what did President Felix Tshisekedi do? Instead of seeking African solutions, instead of rallying the African Union or building alliances with our neighboring nations, he ran straight to the United States with his hand out. He offered exclusive access to Congo's most critical minerals in exchange for security, promises that may never materialize. This June 27, 2025, Critical Minerals for Security and Peace deal represents a diplomatic victory for the U.S. in its global competition with China over mineral resources. Trump, never one to hide his true intentions, boasted openly to reporters that America would gain substantial mineral rights from Congo. This wasn't even disguised. It was a blatant admission that this deal serves American economic interests first and foremost. Let me be crystal clear. This is not a peace agreement. This is a transaction that mortgages Congo's entire future to foreign powers who care nothing about African prosperity. What breaks my heart most, my friends, is how familiar this betrayal feels. Congo's history reads like a horror story of exploitation. From King Leopold II's genocidal rubber and ivory campaigns in the 19th century to Mobutu Sese Seko's kleptocratic rule that stole billions while his people starved, this pattern never ends. The Congo Wars, often called Africa's World War, claimed over 5.5 million lives between 1998 and 2003, all driven by the desperate scramble to control these same minerals we're talking about today. Today, as the entire world races to secure critical minerals for green energy, defense systems, and advanced technology, Congo remains nothing more than a warehouse for foreign powers to raid. Congolese children risk their lives in dangerous artisanal mines for pennies, while multinational corporations and their corrupt local partners make billions. The environment is destroyed, entire communities are displaced, and the Congolese people see almost nothing of the immense wealth that flows from their homeland. The specific details of this US-DRC-Rwanda deal are deliberately kept vague, but the implications couldn't be clearer. The agreement promises to end the fighting between Congo and Rwanda, a conflict rooted in the aftermath of the 1994 genocide and fueled by competition over mineral wealth. But here's the problem. M23, the main aggressor in this conflict, wasn't even included in the agreement. How can you have peace when the primary troublemaker isn't even at the table? Analysts are already warning that without addressing the root causes, the corruption, the weak governance, and the constant regional interference, this peace will be nothing but a mirage that disappears the moment the cameras stop rolling. Meanwhile, the United States secures its access to cobalt, coltan, and lithium, protecting its economic and strategic interests, while the Congolese people remain trapped in poverty. One expert perfectly captured what millions of Africans are feeling right now. The DRC is screwed. Every African should be filled with deep sadness hearing this news. Our leaders are literally selling our future for a photo opportunity in the White House. This deal represents a betrayal not just of Congo, but of all of Africa. It sends a devastating message that our leaders lack the vision to solve our own problems, the courage to control our own resources, and the wisdom to put our people first. Here's what I want to know. Why do Congo and Rwanda, two proud African nations, need Washington to broker peace between them? Where is the African Union when we need them most? Where are the voices of Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, or Ethiopia? Why must we invite foreign powers to settle disputes that we, as Africans, should be resolving ourselves? The answer lies in a toxic combination of corruption, dependency, and a devastating lack of faith in our own capabilities. Tshisekedi's decision to trade Congo's minerals for security promises is nothing less than a surrender of sovereignty. a complete capitulation that destroys the unity and self-determination that Pan-Africanism demands. But wait, before despair overwhelms us, let me tell you about a different story unfolding right now in Burkina Faso, where a young leader named Captain Ibrahim Traoré is completely rewriting what's possible for African nations. At just 34 years old, Traoré seized power in 2022, not for personal gain or glory, but to liberate his nation from the crushing grip of neo-colonialism and terrorism. Burkina Faso, a landlocked nation in the Sahel, had been under relentless attack from jihadist groups linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIS, with millions of people displaced and entire regions destabilized. For years, foreign powers, especially France, maintained military bases under the excuse of fighting terrorism, while their companies systematically plundered Burkina Faso's gold mines, leaving the country with nothing but crumbs from their own wealth. Traoré said, "Enough." He expelled French forces, cancelled exploitative mining contracts, and declared that Burkina Faso would mine its own minerals, control its own destiny, and prioritize its own people above all else. His government nationalized key gold mines, and the results have been absolutely extraordinary. State revenue jumped from a measly $1 billion annually to over $10 billion by 2024. This wealth is being reinvested directly into the nation, transforming Burkina Faso from a symbol of despair into a beacon of hope for the entire continent. Traoré's first priority was tackling terrorism head-on. Using gold revenues, his government purchased advanced military equipment, drones, armored vehicles, sophisticated surveillance systems. These investments have paid off dramatically. According to the African Center for Strategic Studies, terrorist attacks in Burkina Faso dropped by 30% between 2022 and 2024, allowing displaced communities to finally return home safely. Military operations led by a reinvigorated Burkinabe army have reclaimed territories once controlled by insurgents, bringing peace back to regions like the Sahel and Centre-Nord. But Traoré's vision extends far beyond just security. He's using mineral wealth to completely rebuild Burkina Faso's healthcare system, opening brand new hospitals in Ouagadougou, Bobo-Dioulasso, and Koudougou. These facilities, equipped with modern diagnostic tools and staffed by locally trained doctors, offer subsidized care that ordinary citizens can actually afford. In 2024, the government launched a universal healthcare pilot program in the Cascades region, covering treatment costs for low-income families. Maternal mortality rates have dropped by 15% since Traoré took power, concrete proof of his genuine commitment to his people's well-being. Education, the foundation of any nation's future, is another top priority. Over 500 new classrooms were built in 2024 alone, funded entirely by gold revenues, allowing thousands of children to return to school after years of disruption. Vocational training centers have opened in both urban and rural areas, teaching young Burkinabe essential skills in mining, agriculture, and technology. These centers are producing a new generation of engineers, mechanics, and entrepreneurs who will drive Burkina Faso's economy forward. Traoré's government is also building the infrastructure that connects people to opportunity. They're paving roads and building bridges to connect rural communities to markets. In 2023, the Ouagadougou-Tenkodogo highway was completed, cutting travel time for farmers and boosting trade throughout the region. New irrigation systems funded by mineral wealth have transformed arid regions into fertile farmlands, increasing agricultural output by 20% in just 2 years. Recognizing that agriculture is the backbone of Burkina Faso's economy, Traoré has invested heavily in mechanization. In 2024, the government distributed 1,000 tractors to rural cooperatives, enabling farmers to cultivate larger plots and dramatically improve their yields. This initiative is part of a comprehensive plan to make Burkina Faso food secure and reduce dependence on imported grains. Let me share with you the story of Amadou, a 25-year-old farmer from Dori in northern Burkina Faso. Before Traoré's rise to power, Amadou's life was a living nightmare. Terrorist groups roamed freely through his area, forcing him to abandon his fields and seek refuge in a displaced persons camp. His children went hungry, and his dreams of a better future seemed utterly impossible. But in 2023, Traore's agricultural revolution changed everything for Amadou and his community. His cooperative received 2 brand new tractors, enabling them to cultivate 10 hectares of millet and sorghum. Today, Amadou's farm produces enough to feed his family and sell surplus at the local market. His children are back in school, attending classes in a newly built classroom in Dori. His village, once a ghost town, is alive again with hope and possibility. Captain Traore gave us back our dignity, Amadou says, his voice filled with genuine gratitude. He showed us that Burkina Faso belongs to us, not to foreigners. Traore's most audacious move was opening Burkina Faso's first state-owned gold refinery in 2024. This facility processes gold domestically, creating thousands of high-paying jobs and eliminating reliance on foreign expertise. By controlling the entire value chain, from mining to refining, Burkina Faso is maximizing its profits and building an economy that truly serves its people. Traore's vision provides a perfect blueprint for all of Africa. A nation that controls its resources can control its future. Burkina Faso's revolution isn't happening in isolation. In Mali, Colonel Assimi Goïta is leading a parallel transformation. Since taking power in 2021, Goïta has prioritized nationalizing Mali's gold mines, which account for 80% of the country's export revenue. He expelled French forces, accusing them of perpetuating insecurity to maintain control over Mali's wealth. His government renegotiated contracts with foreign mining companies, increasing Mali's share of profits from 20% to 50% in many cases. These funds are being invested directly in development projects, new hospitals in Bamako, irrigation systems in the Niger River Valley, and vocational training centers for young people. In 2024, Mali launched the Vision 2030 initiative, an ambitious roadmap to transform the country into a regional hub for agriculture and mining.
Now, let me stop it there. I want to make a comment that at this juncture, at this time in history, you are living through, if not the biggest transformation, but if not, but the most important. Africa, from this day on, will dominate the world. And I say that without bridling, without hesitation, without forethought. That it is time for Africa to rise up and to start beating that ass. I can't remember, there was a black author, I can't remember his name, he's saying that the only thing that Africa owes to the white man is an ass whooping. That is so true. Let's continue.
Gold revenues have funded the construction of 200 new health clinics, dramatically reducing the distance rural residents must travel for medical care. Solar-powered irrigation systems have boosted rice and cotton production, making Mali less dependent on food imports. Goïta's government has also invested heavily in education, building 300 new schools and training 5,000 teachers to prepare Mali's youth for the future. In Niger, General Abdourahmane Chiani is reclaiming the country's uranium, a critical resource for nuclear energy. In 2023, Niger canceled a decades-old agreement with France's Orano, which had monopolized uranium mining while leaving Nigerians in desperate poverty. The government has partnered with African firms to develop its mining sector, with plans to build a domestic processing plant by 2027. Uranium revenues are funding massive electrification projects, bringing power to 500,000 rural households for the first time in their lives. New schools and clinics are appearing across the country, and Niger's youth are being trained in mining and renewable energy technologies. These nations, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, certainly face challenges. Terrorism remains a threat, and the transition to self-reliance requires time and tremendous resilience. Yet their leaders have proven beyond doubt that African solutions are not only possible, but superior. By rejecting Western military presence and prioritizing local control of resources, they're demonstrating that Africa's wealth can be a blessing, not a curse, when it's properly harnessed for the people. Now let's return to Congo, a nation that could easily be the richest in the world if its leaders had even half the vision of Traoré, Goïta, or Chiani. With its vast reserves of cobalt, coltan, lithium, copper, gold, and diamonds, Congo has the potential to power Africa's complete industrialization. Imagine a Congo where its minerals fund factories that produce batteries and electronics, universities that train world-class scientists and engineers, and hospitals that rival the best facilities in the West. Imagine a Congo where young people are employed in high-tech industries, where roads and railways connect every corner of the country, and where people live with dignity and pride. This isn't a fantasy. It's a realistic possibility that's being squandered by corruption and weak leadership. Corruption has been Congo's fatal weakness for decades. The country ranks 154th out of 164 nations in the 2025 Freedom and Prosperity Index for legal governance, a damning indictment of its systemic rot. Leaders like Mobutu Sese Seko and Joseph Kabila amassed personal fortunes worth billions, while their people suffered in poverty. Tshisekedi's administration, despite grand promises of reform, has failed to break this destructive cycle. The Minerals for Security deal with the U.S. is a symptom of this fundamental failure, a desperate attempt to trade sovereignty for stability. Instead of investing in building a strong national army, fostering African-led peace initiatives, or building partnerships with other African nations, Tshisekedi has invited foreign powers to dictate Congo's future. This isn't leadership. It's complete surrender. If Congo were to follow Burkina Faso's example, it could transform both its economy and society practically overnight. Nationalizing its mines, as Traoré has done, would generate hundreds of billions to rebuild infrastructure and social services. A Congolese state-owned refinery could process cobalt and coltan locally, creating millions of high-paying jobs and eliminating reliance on foreign firms. Strategic partnerships with other African nations, leveraging South Africa's expertise in mining or Nigeria's experience in oil and gas, could ensure that Congo's wealth benefits the entire continent. But this requires leaders with the courage to say no to foreign handouts and yes to African self-reliance. Here's the truth that the world doesn't want us to understand. Africa is not poor. Africa is incredibly rich. Our continent holds 30% of the world's mineral reserves, 60% of its arable land, and a dynamic, youthful population of 1.4 billion people, the largest workforce of the 21st century. Yet for far too long, we've allowed ourselves to be defined by dependency, divided by artificial colonial borders, and manipulated by foreign powers who profit from our division. The DRC-Rwanda deal serves as a stark reminder of this painful reality. While Trump secures America's economic future for generations, Congo and Rwanda's leaders are actively robbing their people of theirs. But the inspiring stories of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger show us a completely different path forward. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Colonel Assimi Goïta, and General Abdourahamane Chiani aren't just political leaders. They're visionaries who genuinely believe in Africa's unlimited potential. Their success isn't measured only in reclaimed resources, but in inspiring an entire generation to dream bigger and demand better. Across our continent, young Africans are watching, learning, and demanding accountability from their leaders. From Amadou and Dori to the students in Bamako's training centers, a new Africa is rising. One that refuses to be a pawn in the West's economic game. My fellow Africans, the time for excuses is over. We cannot continue fighting among ourselves, divided by ethnicity, religion, or politics, while our wealth is systematically stolen from under our feet. The DRC-Rwanda deal must serve as our wake-up call, a painful but necessary reminder that our leaders must prioritize Africa's interests above all else. We must actively support initiatives like Africa's Human Capacity Development Programs to train our youth, strengthen our institutions, and reclaim our rightful destiny. We must demand leaders who, like Traoré, Goita, and Chiani, genuinely believe in Africa's potential and are willing to fight for it every single day. The world may laugh at us now, but let them laugh. Iran fought fiercely for its oil, its uranium, and its sovereignty, and today it stands tall and independent. Africa can and must do the same. Congo, with its unparalleled mineral wealth, could lead this continental transformation, but only if its leaders stop selling out and start building up our people and our nations. The time has come for us to rise united and show the world that Africa's future belongs to Africans and Africans alone. The map of Africa remains incomplete without our collective resolve to reclaim our resources, restore our dignity, and secure our rightful place in the world. The contrasting stories of Congo's betrayal and the revolutionary progress in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger offer us crucial lessons that cannot be ignored. The June 27, 2025 Minerals for Security deal, which handed significant control over Congo's vast cobalt and coltan reserves to the United States, stands as a warning about the dangers of dependency and weak leadership.
All right, you heard it. Let me get rid of that video and let's go on to the next one. So this one is one of the many that I'm gonna be covering. They're talking about Mount St. Helens on the brink. It could be within days or weeks, but I'm counting on it to happen by the end of this year, along with the fallout of the geyser. I still can't remember the name of that place. But it's a geyser that happens in America, and it's something park. But we're gonna get to it, and believe me, I am truly. I don't know if I want to say worried, but I am truly concerned. That would be a better word for people's lives to be at stake. Hundreds of millions of people are going to die. That is without a doubt, if not billions. You're looking at the very least, 300 million to 500 million people are going to die around the globe. How many in America? I'm going to say about 5 million. And it's going to take a while for us to dig out all of it. You're talking about China building sloppy roads and bridges and highways and byways and homes. America the same way. We have bridges and highways and byways and everything else in poor condition. We spent over $20 trillion on war that should have been going to not only the seniors and the veterans and people in general, but to our infrastructure. And once again, we are seeing the white boy fucking up everything. So without further ado, let me go on and get right into the real deal for tonight. Wow, I apologize. There was a slight 2 second um, um, light outage that happened here. But I'm going to put that particular video of the Chinese guy becoming a chief, and let me see, I did eliminate that one. And I apologize again for that one. I don't know what the hell. Well, I do know what happened. The light went out. But it is what it is. But anyways, we're going to keep moving, and hopefully it won't happen again. So, but I just want everybody to know that this is a very dire situation that the world is facing and America is facing. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But again, I apologize for what happened, and let's get on to the next situation. Now, this one, let me try to see where we are here. Okay. So this one has to deal with the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Israel is going to destroy it because they are that stupid. They didn't get those red heifers going for nothing. They didn't say they plan to build the second temple. It's going to happen. And I do believe it'll happen by the end of this year when they will bomb the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And as you will see, Hamas is warning Israel. If you do it, you're going to pay the price, white boy. They get at it. First, let me make sure. There you go. All right, now you have it. So we're gonna keep moving forward, and you're gonna see the idiocy of white folks and the people who are just loving putting their noses in the asses of white people. And this is what this is. These people have no moral, have no compunction about killing, and they have no foundation of integrity. Hold on for a second. I gotta put this on my rabbi's WhatsApp. Okay, hold on. Let me find it. All right. There we go. Okay, so I got that out of the way. But we're going to take a look at Vivek Ramaswamy kissing the ass of white folks and kicking black people to the curb. It's time now. It's time to get up. It's time to do. It's time to go. It's time to whoop ass and take names and whoop ass. So this is all we owe these motherfuckers. Nothing more, nothing less. And I hate the fact that this is happening, but it is a necessary evil to raise its ugly head and to chop it off. Here we go.
Oh, but so one thing I've talked about before is how immigrants who are looking to come here to the country and get a quick buck, what they usually tend to cater to is the lowest common denominator here in the country, and that is white ignorance, specifically of the Republican Party. And the reason why is, first off, because they're low IQ, they're a uneducated group of people, so you don't have to worry about them fact checking you or calling you out on your BS. Two, they're already polarized. You have many of them watching Fox News who is telling them, anti-black propaganda, despite them losing one of the biggest lawsuits for defamation, okay, due to lying about the election. So it's just like, okay, you're dumb, you're already polarized. So the narrative just has to be, America's great, black people bad, Democrats are Democrats. That's it. That's all you have to do. And then lastly, they got money. A lot of the boomers who are part of the white ignorant class of the Republican Party, they have money. And we see this time and time again. We saw how Trump, as far as exploited them when it came to Stop the Steal Fund. That money didn't go to anywhere. It went to his debt. But these, the boomer dumb class, the white ignorants are just like, well, we got to stop the steal. That's what we're going to do. That's what's going to happen. So it's a gold mine. It's a gold mine because it's a landscape of stupidity. It just is what it is. So the immigrants come here, and we have such notable immigrants, such as Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, who was talking about, hey, black people need to get over slavery. What? What are you talking about? That's insane. You would never say that to Jewish people talking about, hey, we just need to get over the Holocaust. They never say that. They won't even say that about 9/11. Hey, we need to get over 9/11. They don't say that. But once again, anti-black racism is a surefire way to boost your finances. If you're coming from, a third world country over here to the States.
This tiny cooling device beats expensive AC units and works even when the power goes out.
Listen, you don't want to be broke here in the States. That's not why you came here. You came here to make money. So that's what they do. You have another one. I forgot her name. Gonzalez, whatever. She's the one that did like the mock execution of the illegal immigrants. herself came here to the country, once again, an immigrant, but she does this hyperbolic sense of America, America, and all this, and talking negatively about reparations for Black people. That's what they do.
It is outrageous to see people asking for reparations, even though they never went through slavery. These ungrateful people should be celebrated because they were born in the greatest nation to ever exist.
You have Byron Donalds. He's admitted to his Caribbean roots and whatnot. But most notably, we have Vivek Ramaswamy. Okay, this is what this video is about. Because I find it hysterical that Vivek still hasn't learned his lesson, right? You would think that he would have learned when it came to Doge. Vivek got booted out of Doge by criticizing, white people, by saying, hey, this mediocrity is going to kill the country. That's what's going to happen. It's going to kill the country. That you guys say you don't want DEI, but it seems that you do want DEI, but for white people. Because if the Indian person who is more qualified for the job, they should get the job. And essentially, that didn't go over well to his white ignorant base. Beta! Rule number one, you never outshine the master. You don't criticize the same people who are funding you, who have created you in a sense. And that's what he did. He said, hey, now, don't get me wrong, what he said is absolutely truthful, 100% truthful, but that's not what they pay you to tell them. They pay you to tell them propaganda. That's what they pay you to tell them. They pay you to tell them lies. Damn. And putting the mirror up to them is a surefire way to get fired, to get canceled, to get deported. That's how that works. I don't know what to tell you. So he gets booted from Doge. He has to put on a smile on his face. This is after they told him that, hey, you need to go back to 7-Eleven, right? They dubbed it as a joke. And, if you're in this position, what can you do? There's nothing you can do. Vivek is in between a rock and a hard space because there's nothing he can do. He has to put on a smile. He is forced because he's put himself in this situation where now he's aligned himself with a bunch of white ignorants that despise him. Beta! When it comes to the racism, he has to put on a smile on his face and say, well, I can take a joke. Okay, I can take a joke. That's what he's forced to do. He has no other option. What he then does is pivot to, well, I'm going to run for, governor of Ohio. Okay, let's see how that goes, right? So random, governor of Ohio. And you see this also, once again, with the other immigrant, Byron Donalds. Well, I'm going to run for, governor of Florida. Okay, all right. Vivek puts out a post for 4th of July, right? And he puts out a post with his, his wife and his 2 kids, and it's like, happy 4th of July. It's a harmless, post. It's, you should be celebrating family, everything that, the American dream, everything that the Republican Party alleges that they stand for, right? Oh, we're all for it. This is a legal immigrant, right? He's built a family. He's assimilated, all of this. And as I've said time and time again, that's not what they want. That is not what they want at all. So you have to understand that these people, as the scripture says, come here to kill, steal, and destroy. They're a lineage of evil. And you aligning yourself with the lineage of evil doesn't make them less evil.
Wake up, nigga.
It just makes you a puppet, right? It makes you a means to an end. Because they will use you until they can, and then they will, discard of you. That's what will happen. So if you look at his post is filled with a bunch of people saying, hey, I don't see any Americans in this photo. There are no Americans in this photo. Hey, you should go back to India. There are some saying, oh, I do see Americans in this photo. And apparently there's like 2 white kids on the edge of the photo. They're like, hey, those are the Americans. You're not American. There's some asking him, hey, are you wearing shoes? Because in an interview, Vivek Ramaswamy, he chose not to wear shoes in an interview. And that rubbed people the wrong way. So it's just a bunch of racist comments all throughout the post. There was one saying that, hey, SAR, you should get out of here and go back to India. Now, I don't know what the heck they meant by SAR, but apparently SAR is the way of Indians mispronouncing sir. Instead of sir, they say SAR. And I was like, this is some weird, off the wall type racism where I had to look up the words and everything. And that just goes to show you that the people that you aligned yourself with, instead of actually fighting with Black people, right, fighting with us for the issues and the racism that was going on in this country, you decide to malign us. You decide to dismiss Black people, dismiss the grievances, give the whole, lift yourself up by the bootstraps, And now the same people have turned on you. The same people are now calling you, every name in the book. The same people are calling you slurs, telling you to go back to your country. The same people. And I just think this is a beautiful story. I think this is a beautiful story because I find it just eerily just confusing how someone like Vivek can align himself with these group of people while witnessing the vice president getting stoned. Okay, they were throwing stones at JD Vance for having an Indian wife. That's what they're doing. They're still doing that. They think that they've lost the country because JD Vance's wife is Indian. Okay, they believe, we're going to lose the country.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
These ignorants, giving them a voice was exactly what Trump did. He weaponized the ignorance. That's what he did. Instead of most of them just saying, hey, we just need you to come out for one day and, we don't agree with you. Trump was like, no, you guys are the people. You guys are the voice of the world and everything. And he gaslit them. That's what he did. And that's what they feel that they have. They feel that they have an ally in President Donald Trump. And they will fight tooth and nail, as we can see, to uphold that sense of victimhood that has been, placed upon them, whether they know it or not. And Vivek gets it. This is what he gets, bro. And I have no problem with any of the comments that were calling him every name in the book. That's what he deserves, okay? You align with evil, you deserve everything that comes to evil people. You align yourself with the lineage of evil, you deserve everything that comes to the lineage of evil. Anyways, guys, that's the video. Let me know what you guys think, whether or not you believe Lucas Vivek is an American, okay? He's a great hero. Or if you believe, I hear you, but I think you're on the outlier. I think many people, especially within the Republican Party, don't do that. They view that as white. That's what they want. There's been a surge of white youth incels who have now been polarized, right? They've been galvanized to the point of, I don't think there's a return. And they see people like Vivek, despite him wearing the American flag, despite him saying, yeah, America, despite any type or form of assimilation, they believe you can't assimilate because you are not the right color. And those are the people who you decided to champion. Joke's on you, I guess. Anyways, if you happen to disagree, you know where to find me. Thursday through Saturday.
Right. So, I played this video for a reason. For the simple fact that when you align yourself with evil, you're going to get it. Karma's a bitch, but it's a bitch when you act like a bitch. But when you act right and you align yourself with righteousness, justice, and truth, and knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, you're going to be blessed. And I truly believe this platform, being what it is, will be a blessing upon me and my family and anyone who speaks truth to power. We'll be able to see that. We're not here I'm not here, my boy not here, Elias, play. We are here to speak truth to power. I don't give a fuck who sees it and don't like it. Kiss my black ass. How was that? All right? This is how we get down. We're not into my feelings, my emotions, or their feelings or their emotions. We're here to tell the truth. And this is what you're going to get. So, again, tonight's show is all about the robbery of people's faith and other people. You cannot have faith in other people who are fucking up, who have been known to fuck up, and who don't give a damn about society and about humanity or your own personal humanity as a human being. And this is so prevalent in America. And like I said at the beginning of this show, that Mother Nature is about to wake up and beat that ass. These are major problems that are occurring right now. And it is a must to wake up to the reality of what is going on, because after it happened in America, the America we know will no longer exist. And this is how we might hold on for a second.
We begin tonight with a developing story from the American West.
Hold on.
Man, I hate that. But it is what it is. So, like I was saying, we're going to be facing cataclysmic change in America and around the world. So let's continue. Hold on, let me see where we are. Okay. Okay, so let's continue.
Geologists have detected new cracks forming beneath Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. The discovery is now raising concerns about the region's seismic activity. Some experts warn it could be a quiet sign of something much larger.
Under the vaulting blue sky of the American West, where the world's imagination often conjures geysers, grizzly bears, and the endless wild, something unusual has surfaced. Literally, tourists come for the jaw-dropping vistas, the ashen peaks of the Tetons, split by deep green valleys, the calm river reflecting a landscape that seems immutable, eternal. But this serenity belies a subtle, seismic tension etched beneath the surface, a quiet drama revealed not in roaring eruptions or shaking ground, but in new fractures, subtle cracks.
Don't buy another pair of glasses until you've seen what this new invention can do. These self-adjustable
and the silent, stoic split of ancient rock. In June 2024, as visitors wound through Grand Teton National Park, savoring river bends and snow-capped summits, a gash opened in the land. A fissure, stretching an impressive 100 feet, appeared in a place better known for its tranquil beauty than drama. Park authorities moved quickly, cordoning off a section of trail, issuing bulletins, and reassuring the public. The crack in Grand Teton was real, undeniable, and the questions it unleashed ran deep. What force had torn at the stone so suddenly? Was it simply a quirk of nature's restless hand, or the echo of something older, deeper, and more profound? On social media, speculation swirled alongside photographs, broad stripes across stone, some joking about an elevator in the earth. Wyoming's highways, too, showed signs of strain. An 8-inch deep crack, splitting both lanes on a road, quickly patched, but impossible to ignore. Closures flashed across the maps, usually crowded with summer travelers, and stories circulated about Yellowstone, a neighboring landscape of drama.
That's what I was trying to remember, Yellowstone National Park. If that blows, it's over with, along with Mount St. Helens and the two fault lines, one out there in California and the one in the middle, the Midwest. It's going to be one, so let's continue.
Though the facts revealed something quieter, the Grand Tetons, not Yellowstone, were the site of the striking 100-foot crack, and the famous caldera to the north remained undisturbed. So, as the world's gaze, by habit, turns to Yellowstone and its ancient volcanic cauldron, a new truth stirs beneath the Teton's shadow. Can the serenity of these mountains conceal the quiet flecks of an ever-living earth? And what, exactly, is cracking open beneath the surface? The Tetons split, a quiet shout from the stone. For decades, Grand Teton National Park has stood as the quieter sibling to Yellowstone's volcanic spectacle. Both parks are masterpieces of geology, one defined by fire and boiling earth, the other by icy sculpture and the relentless uplift of ancient stone. Yet, for much of recent memory, the Tetons have played the background, serene and seemingly unchanging. Summer visitors flock to the park, drawn by wildlife, glittering rivers, and the promise of silence in stone. But on a late spring day in 2024, the narrative shifted. A split, a 100-foot-long crack, appeared across the bedrock of Grand Teton. What at first seemed an illusion or a misinterpretation on social media was soon confirmed by park authorities. The crack was real, its scale unusual, if not without precedent in this restless part of the world. Photos appeared online, First from official park accounts, what's that big stripe? A crack in the rocks? An elevator, perhaps? And then from hikers, who measured the gap with their feet, compared the crevice to stories and myths, and wondered at its sudden appearance. Rangers quickly restricted access, out of caution, and to allow geologists a clear first look. The park became, momentarily, a living experiment, edged by nervous curiosity. This wasn't the only sign of strain. Around the same time, an 8-inch deep fissure split both lanes of a Wyoming highway. The state, familiar with freeze-thaw cycles and shifting ground, patched it rapidly. But the cracks, one in stone, one in asphalt, caught attention, not for their immediate risk, but for what they symbolized, the reminder that even the quietest land is always in motion. Were these surface quirks normal in a landscape marked by glaciers and shifting under-earth, or were they connected, outward signs of deeper rumbles, slow shifts from the old bones of the Teton Range? Nothing as catastrophic as a volcanic awakening occurred. Yellowstone, often the focus of seismic fears, was unaffected, but the confluence of cracks and closure.
Hold on.
Welcome to my video. This video is very, very powerful. I've got notes for days.
Refocused worry. Was there something stirring? Not in the mythic magma of Yellowstone, but under the Teton's timeless facade? Can a region famed for stability rest easy when the ground itself splits without warning? Or is every mountain, every valley, just a wound waiting patiently for time to expose its edge again? Cracks in the calm, how the land remembers. Standing in the heart of Grand Teton National Park is to stand within a museum of scars, peaks and valleys born not by gradual peace, but by upheaval, fracture, and release. The valley floors whisper of ancient glaciers, which carved the land flat and then retreated, leaving the jagged, towering range behind. But what causes a crack? A sudden, 100-foot opening in bedrock, honed over millennia? The answer is rarely simple. Sometimes, what ruptures stone is Earth's slow rebound, a response to vanished glaciers. 15,000 years ago, ice sheets miles thick pressed down upon these peaks. When the ice melted, pressure vanished, and the land began to rise, a patient movement measured in millimeters per year, but powerful across centuries. This elastic recoil, called isostatic adjustment, remains ever present in shaping the land. It raises valleys, shifts rivers, and at times fractures the surface. It keeps the Tetons as an active reminder that the land, even now, is finding its equilibrium. At the same time, the Tetons themselves were born along a great fault, a break that still marks the western edge of the range. Unlike more dramatic faults, such as those in California, the Teton Fault moves only occasionally and often slowly, accumulating stress over lifetimes before yielding. The new fissures, both stone and asphalt, are likely products of these ongoing adjustments, perhaps hastened by abundant spring runoff, freeze-thaw cycles, and the continuing upward push from below. The processes are old, even as the cracks feel new. The land flexes in memory of vanished ice, hidden pressure, and relentless time. For every visitor who marvels at the mountain silhouettes, there's a reminder, sometimes subtle, sometimes sharp, to watch beneath their feet. Each crack is a conversation between present and past, a sign that the reassuring silence of stone is always under negotiation. A tale of two parks, Yellowstone and the Teton Divide. For generations, Yellowstone has captured the public's imagination, a place of geysers, unseen magma, and the omnipresent possibility of sudden change. Its tremors, however small, are tracked, logged, and analyzed. Meanwhile, Grand Teton, just to the south, has seemed quieter, focusing on wildlife, glacial lakes, and dramatic granite spires, rather than explosions and unrest. In the summer of 2024, the division blurred. As news of the 100-foot fissure in Grand Teton spread, eyes turned inevitably to Yellowstone. Rumors circulated, some accurate, some misunderstood, about fissures, craters, and road closures. In the confusion, it was widely but incorrectly believed that a massive crater had opened in Yellowstone, or that it, too, was suffering dramatic cracks. In truth, the 100-foot fissure was in Grand Teton, and while Yellowstone did face a closure due to shifting surface features, The dramatic elements remained south of the volcanic caldera. The incident underlined how easily concern about geologic change can cross park boundaries. Some insisted the real danger was still to the north, a massive caldera, closely watched by the USGS. Others, seeing the Teton's new wound, wondered aloud if their long calm might hide its own source of surprise. Officials were quick to clarify. The new crater and crack stories concerned Grand Teton, not Yellowstone. In both parks, the changes posed no imminent threat. Neither site faced disaster, but the near simultaneous closures and the collapse of a vital connector like Teton Pass, a highway linking the two parks, compounded worries and demonstrated how quickly access can be hampered by the Earth's subtle movements. So, where do the differences lie? Yellowstone's drama simmers beneath the crust, maintained by magma and water, volcanically active but closely monitored. The Tetons rise from old faults, shifting glacial weight and more gradual adjustments, a landscape more about persistent strain than sudden release. But in the summer of 2024, the lines blurred. Both parks showcase the capacity of even seemingly stable landscapes to surprise. Does every wild region, even its sanctuaries, contain...
YouTube, what up? Welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Watson.
Contain its own latent power to shift beneath our feet. Gaps and questions, the science of sudden change. With the emergence of these fresh fissures, the scientific process kicked into gear, not with alarms, but with careful observation and method. What had opened the ground in Grand Teton so abruptly? Geologists arrived with GPS gear, drones, and the patience of inquiry. The fissure stretched 100 feet, several feet deep, marked unmoved stone, newly separated in a dramatic line. Researchers used ground-penetrating radar to probe below the surface and took temperature readings to rule out volcanic or hydrothermal involvement. No signs of those processes appeared. Instead, the likely cause was the strain from seasonal changes, intense snowmelt, freeze-thaw cycles, water movement, and the perpetual, subtle adjustments of crust rebounding from glacial retreat. As they measured and mapped the crack, more questions followed. Why did it happen in this spot? At this moment, was the year's wet weather to blame? Was road maintenance or altered drainage a factor? Funneling water underground until the earth split above? Or was it a matter of chance, a natural process given visible form by a particular confluence of conditions? For every reassurance, there's no imminent danger, there came requests for more study and vigilance. Sensors were placed for longer-term monitoring. Park managers pledged updates as conditions changed. If any certainty emerged, it was that dramatic changes are rarely the result of a single factor, and that a landscape may appear settled right up to the moment it reconfigures itself. These episodes reinforce a crucial point. No park, no matter how strictly protected, is exempt from the dynamic physics that rule over stone and soil. The ground, even when it seems most solid, is in conversation with memory and time. The quiet threat, stability, safety, and the role of vigilance. Under every headline about cracks and crevices, a deeper question lies: how safe are the great parks we treasure? For generations, the answer has felt comfortable. The West may deliver storms, wildfires, and occasional minor quakes, but the big threats, we've often told ourselves, loom farther away. But stability, like the land itself, is relative. This season, as cracks made headlines, a technical, quieter debate began among scientists and managers. Were the splits and collapses just routine, or did they...
Now let me stop it right there and put a comment here. So here we are. The evidence is clear, and it's just a matter of time. And like I said, it's going to be by the end of this year, some point in the early part or the first quarter of 26, and continue around the globe. You have the Ring of Fire, you got different trenches and fault lines in America and around the world. Vesuvius in Italy, that may be just as devastating as it was in Pompeii in 79 AD. China is being hit now, Japan is being hit. It is just a massive amount of damage that is being done right now to the world as we know it, and it's going to change the world as we know it. So let's continue.
Mark some subtle change in how the land releases its built-up energy. The answer, for now, is reassuring. There's no sign of looming disaster. Neither Grand Teton nor Yellowstone is at risk of major convulsion, and the cracks of 2024 are unlikely to be the start.
¿Quieres ver cómo se crea un producto digital con IA en menos de una hora? Quédate que te muestro cómo yo lo hago paso a paso. Primero, entro a ChatGPT.
Of a catastrophic sequence. Most are direct results of nature's slow adjustments, glacial rebound, spring floods, freeze-thaw cycles, even the weight of a heavy winter. But the disruptions have real consequences. Highways are closed or detoured. Trails are rerouted. In some cases, even brief closures can ripple outward, affecting tourism, rescue operations, and park maintenance. The park's infrastructure, aging, stretched by weather and visitation, must adapt again and again to the land's unpredictable pulse. The ecosystem itself is vulnerable too. Cracks can divert water, alter soil drainage, and change the movement of wildlife through a given area. Even small fissures can undermine the delicate balances on which both wild and human communities depend. Park officials have responded accordingly. Closures were announced, hazardous areas monitored, and communication channels emphasized. The message has been clear: caution, not panic; monitoring, not avoidance. The episode illustrates a broader truth. In landscapes this dynamic, constant vigilance becomes not just policy, but a necessity. Silent shifts, wildlife, visitors, and the ripple effect. While geologic drama draws headlines, subtle cracks have quieter consequences for the park's everyday life. Grand Teton is not just a register of stone. It is a living matrix, home to bison, elk, pronghorn, bears, and much more. These animals attract hundreds of thousands of visitors each year, making wildlife viewing as iconic as the mountain views themselves. Yet a recent study has underscored a critical reality. It is not infrastructural obstacles, entry fees, or even temporary trail closures that most determine if people come to these wild places. Instead, it is the presence and health of these animal populations. If populations decline, or if cracks, floods, or closures make wildlife harder to see, tourism numbers may fall, funding for the park may shrink, and conservation goals become more difficult to meet. Each fissure that forces a closure, detour, or hazard sign doesn't just inconvenience hikers, it shapes visitor experience, influences where money is spent, and alters the future of conservation efforts. As management adapts trail networks or restricts access, the question becomes how to balance caution and curiosity, safety and stewardship. Wildlife, too, may change habits in response to new gaps in altered landscapes. Disturbances can fragment migration routes or push sensitive species into new, potentially riskier territories. The delicate web that defines a great park, animals, habitats, visitors, funding, grows more vulnerable each time the land itself shifts beneath it. This season, park officials have moved beyond just response, inviting public comment and offering forums for community input into how land management should adapt to this landscape's very real but often unpredictable changes. Planning now incorporates flexibility, resilience, and the understanding that every visible crack hints at unseen connections through the park's ecology and community. Beneath the stillness, infrastructure, and the threat below. Cracks in stone grab the eye, but cracks in roads and trails often carry the most immediate consequences. On June 6, 2024, state workers repaired an 8-inch deep fissure that opened across both lanes of a Wyoming highway. The patch was quick, the process routine, but the moment was instructive. Here, the competition between engineering and geology is ongoing. Highways in the Rockies are built to endure seasonal stress. Winters freeze, springs melt. The slow undercurrent of ground adjusting to deep-set historical forces. But every new fissure is a test of materials, of planning, of budgets large and small. When a highway like Teton Pass collapses, as occurred in early June, the impact reverberates beyond inconvenience. Emergency response is delayed. Park access is complicated. Already vulnerable communities must reroute around distances and hazards. Compounding this, infrastructure in these remote settings often sits atop stone that shifts in ways hard to predict or preempt. Even small cracks can expose utility lines, risk water and gas service, and interfere with park communications. Each job, each patch or reroute carries an uncertain lifespan, subject to the eternal movement of Earth.
When we touch here,
Hold on.
just try the sensor, John. That feels nice, yeah? That's good. So just do that because it feels comforting. Because when you were
Beneath, these moments are not just technical. Each is a wager that the ground will remain still long enough for repairs to hold. Yet, geologic evidence tells us that motion is certain, only its timing unknown. The ongoing struggle is played out not just in dramatic splits, but in the daily maintenance and anticipation that marks life in the West. Stories in stone, lessons from ancient scars. To see a 100-foot crack as a fluke is tempting. To see it in isolation is almost irresistible in an era of short attention spans. But the slopes and valleys of the Rockies tell us otherwise. The Tetons are not gentle children of time. Their singular profile.
Hold on.
The abrupt, almost vertical lift from Jackson Hole is the result of the Teton Fault, a wound in the continent millions of years old. In geological terms, the range is young, aggressive, and ever sharpened by the lifting of the land and the subsequent scouring of glaciers. The broader region is a palimpsest of upheaval. Yellowstone's volcanic plateau, lying just north, recalls eruptions of titanic scale and force. 3 events in the past 2 million years, each reshuffling land, life, and memory. Beneath the surface, ancient faults, buried fractures, and long vanished glacier scars form an invisible network of tension and release. Many are now dormant, but history implies that apparent stasis can be the prelude to future surprise. For park managers and visitors alike, these stories are reminders that every unchanging landscape is a moment between changes. The land's patience is its own kind of violence, slow or sudden as the conditions require. Understanding this should guide not only our engineering and management, but also our stories and expectations as stewards of these wild places. The latest cracks are not omens, but reminders. Stability is always temporary. Resilience is a process, and love of land requires respect for its ability to shift.
Hold on.
Even our most careful steps. Into the unknown, the crack as invitation. As summer sun gleams on fissures, new and old in Grand Teton, a fresh question rises. What does it mean to witness the land parting, even by 100 feet? Does a crack warn us, demanding new caution and humility? Or does it invite curiosity, a deeper engagement with the living geology beneath our feet? These mysteries do not end with the latest repair or rebuke from officials. Each year, new cycles of freeze and thaw, runoff and stress will bring subtle, sometimes obvious changes. Researchers will return, visitors will walk new routes, patches will be monitored, and stories will continue to swirl across park benches and social feeds. The Tetons, both serene and interrupted, remind us that beloved sanctuaries are never static. They're always in progress, always offering opportunities for wonder and vigilance in equal measure. To hike here is to walk upon a living record, every crack and ridge a page in the ongoing book of the earth. So, as you plan your next journey west to rivers and peaks, wildlife and wild silence, Listen for the stories in the land beneath your feet. What messages ripple in sudden gaps and shifting lines? Do we trust too much in the illusion of permanence? Or have we learned that the very landscapes we love are those most alive, most uncertain, and most worth the effort to understand and preserve? If you're drawn to every ripple and rumble beneath the most magnificent peaks, you are not alone. Consider what would trouble you more, the sudden roar of a supervolcano or the near silent certainty of the land, slowly and without fuss, cracking open to expose some new mystery. And with every fissure, old or new, remember, deep below every trail, every road, every wild sanctuary, the earth keeps its own counsel, reminding us by each quiet split that nature's greatest stories are always in the telling.
Now we're getting closer to the end, and it's going to be a hell of a ride in America. America will never be the same. It's just not going to be the same, and the world will not be the same. Mother Nature is highly pissed. There will be a divine intervention, divine justice that is coming to this world, and we got to be able to understand that. Oh, that's where I wish I can shoot this motherfucker. He's doing it for no reason. I don't. But anyways, we're looking at divine justice by Mother Nature, and she is not going to be playing. One of these is enough if it happens in America. The fault line, the Madrid fault line, the fault line out there in California, or Mount St. Helens, or the national park. I just seen this thing. What is it called? Yellowstone National Park. One of these is enough. But can you imagine if 2, 3 of these happen? It will literally stop America in its tracks. No more venturing out for wars. No more wasting trillions of dollars. We will have to come home, and we will have to rebuild. And that is when America's spirit will truly be tested. Let's keep it moving. So now we're here, before we wrap it up, into other geological pending disaster that's not just naturally pending, but it's going to happen. And I'm predicting it to happen by the end of this year or the first quarter of 26 and throughout 26. That's going to really wake up America and around the world, the heart, soul, and mind, and the wherewithal of humanity to either give up, roll over and die, or restart again with a whole nother mentality, a whole nother heart, a whole nother soul that is more inclusive and more just. But we'll see. What this video is that the Gentiles, white people, are admitting that black people are the real Jews. And I will be right back.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So this awakening is just so far reaching at this point that is some very exciting stuff happening. And whenever we hear Gentiles speak about the awakening, it is a breath of fresh air because unfortunately for some of our people, they need to hear it coming from somebody else before they can accept it. That's just the way it is, family, but nonetheless, it is still a refreshing thing, especially when they not only acknowledge it, but you can tell that they've actually done some research and said, wow, this is the only thing that really makes sense, because in any other direction, it just don't make sense, right? When you hear the Gentiles starting to say, well, prophecy just don't line up with this group right here, I gotta look somewhere else. Now, the one that I'm about to share you now, he was very careful not to say, well, I'm not going to discount those who are calling themselves this, but something just ain't adding up with that over there, right? But this right here, according to prophecy, does make sense. So I'm going to go ahead and share the video with you all. In the video, he is going to give a really, really good sound explanation as to why he believes what he believes. And so this just causes you to see and know that a lot of Gentiles are waking up too. And not only are they waking up, they know who we are and they are spreading this truth openly. So that's got to be shaking up the kingdom of the enemy. He doesn't like this kind of stuff. But hey, it is what it is. And this awakening is going to happen whether he likes it or not. So anyway, take a listen at this. And of course, I will be right back.
Presuppositionalism versus evidentialism.
Wait, what?
Wow, those are some big words.
So, I consider that the so-called black people of the West are actually the Jews of the Scripture. And, it's a weird thing in my life because I was always taught that these weird people from Europe were Jews. And so, you're looking one direction, you're not, but then when you start looking at first you go like, well, are they ethnically Jew? And you look for that, right? And I think the best argument for the ethnicity of their Jewish heritage is the old maps, the old sailors' maps have the interior of West Africa named Judah land, and there's a couple other things that are very Hebrew tribe related. A lot of people contend that the Hebrew tribe of Africa that's just really a variation of the word Hebrew. So those are points to be made, perhaps anecdotal, because I think as I've looked into the blood path, it's hard to follow on either side. And so I don't want to contend against the European Jewish people, right? If they are a fulfillment of Noah's prophecy, we don't want to treat them the way that Ham treated Noah, right? If these are the children of Japheth dwelling in the tents of Shem, when Noah said that, he was saying they would dwell safely, right? That Shem and Japheth are brothers. So I believe that there's something redemptive to this thing. And so when I look at the black Hebrew, what is solid for me, I think about God's character. I think about the character of God. I think about the evidence of the Scripture. I think about what Yahweh says to Moses when he says, surely I've heard the groaning of the people, knowing that this people have groaned. In that same way, the groan of being the captive, right? Being this whole system is parasitic to this one people and keeping this people down. And then you wonder, well, how can you get value from putting another person down? Well, it just is proof that people have value. And specifically, when you talk about the Hebrew, I think that would also say that the record of the Hebrew race, do we need to know the blood ethnicity of the Hebrews? I don't know. But when I look at the way that the Jew of the Scripture, the way the Hebrews of the Scripture were treated, this people has been treated that way. And what it says of the people in Deuteronomy 28, that if they rejected his law, what would happen? That has happened to these people. Read that Deuteronomy 28. It says that they would be taken on ships into Egypt again and be placed in bondage, and no one would redeem them. That has happened to this people. It's over and over. And so you start asking the question, you mean to tell me that God's not going to help this people because they're not Jews, even though the system has treated them 100% as if they were. And you don't think the God that delivered captives out of Egypt isn't near to this people? I tell you,
they are special to him. And I'll tell you, I was thinking about this as I was coming in, that the idea that the system that enslaved them could then liberate them just is not true. Really, what I think we need in this life is the prophetic eyesight to get out of the way, right? Yahweh is doing an act of the Lord. And I also would say, as part of the black-white equation, I would argue that is the Jew-Gentile equation. And that's the same dilemma. That the Jew was black, right? We know that the people that are here that came on ships from West Africa, we call them black, but they're not black, they're brown. Because black isn't about the color of the skin. Black is about polarizing the ruling class from the slave class, right? And so when the scripture talks about the dividing wall between Jew and Gentile, the Jew was the slave. When the Jew rejected Yahweh, the story was they would go back into bondage. And wait, right? Groan for what a time, right? We know that the scripture tells us that it was 430 years. It says 400 once, and then it says 430. So, but still, that's poignant, and that God sent a deliverer. And then we see that the scripture talks about some sort of an exodus, right? And even Moses said one would come like him.
What if I told you you can make passive income selling t-shirts online that only take minutes to create? All you have to do is open up Kiddle and you can find something in there.
So listening to this man, it seems like he put a lot of thought and time into trying to uncover this truth. It doesn't seem like something that he just kind of looked at and just whizzed on by. It looks like he did some research, right? Now, of course, he's not all the way there because he indicated that he didn't want to just completely ignore those people who say that they are Yahudi but are not. But at the same time, he's saying that these are some things that I just cannot ignore. There are some things I simply cannot ignore. And he kind of touched on some of the identifying markers of who the children of Yashael would be, including no man would redeem them when they went into slavery, right? He made a point of that. This was our reality as a people. And he talked about so many different things that actually show that he has done the research. So a lot of people are waking up to this. And this truth is the only thing that is going to make people free. Like I said, Yahushua, the one who the world calls Jesus, he actually said that he that heareth you heareth me, he that heareth not you heareth not me. He also indicated that if you despise my people, you despise me. So it's almost as if folk are being left without a choice. Either you accept the whole thing or you don't accept anything at all, right? And so the truth is one of those things that is difficult for people because they have looked at us in a certain way for so long that they simply just refuse. Some are refusing to accept the truth of who we are, right? Now, the Most High said that he would bring us to this low place, that we would be a derision and a byword in the world, that people would have all kinds of names. They're going to call us anything but a child of the Most High. Doesn't matter, though. We are who we are. They are who they are, right? And if anyone can just even scoot past what their flesh feels and acknowledge the truth, I mean, that's a start. That's actually a start if you can accept the truth. Now, it can still be a very dangerous thing. You gotta stick with it though, because I remember many years ago, and I'm talking more than 10 or more years ago, there was a Gentile. He had put out a very extensive video, very long, and he included a whole lot of information, scriptures, and everything. He put this video out. And he just outlined it. He said, you know what? Without a doubt, the people of the book, the people of the prophecies, the children of Yashael are so-called black people. He says, as I did my research, I found this out, I discovered this, and, I found that all of the prophecies line up with these people right here. Nobody else. Nobody else can claim all of these things that these people are actually lining up with. But then that same guy, other people that downloaded his video and put it on their channels, but that same guy took it off of his channel I'm not sure how soon he took it off, but it was a point in time when I went back to his channel, and he had taken that original video down and put up a whole other video. And he says, well, I was saying these things about the children of Yashrael being so-called black people, and that they were the people of the book. He said, after I did further research and I redid my calculations, right? He used the word calculations. He said that he got it all wrong, right? And then he went on to explain why he believed people of European descent, of Nordic and Swedish and all of this. He went on to explain why he believed that they were the children of Yashrael. So I say to anyone who wakes up to the truth, you have to stick with it, because the enemy will come in and try to snatch that word that was planted in your heart, right? Because it actually fell among stony ground. If it falls among stony ground, he can and will come and snatch that word right out of your heart and have you believing a whole lie. And that's what happened to that guy. I said to myself, man, so you did all this research, all this study, and you put all this information out there, put your face on it, put your name on it, your channel on it, all of that. And now you think a retraction is all that it needs to just make it all disappear. All you got to do is just do a retraction, do a video, say, you don't believe that anymore. You redid your calculations. Your calculations don't matter, dude. The truth is what it is.
Calculations? What the hell are you talking about? It's like algebra or calculus? It's just accepting the truth. And white people have a very bad way of thinking and accepting of the truth that they ain't shit. They're just mediocre motherfuckers. So we're going to get rid of this one. We're going to go on to, hold on, let me make sure. We're going to go on to these two, and then, hold on. Make sure I'm on point. We're about wrapping it up now. So we're going to go on to Lisa Cabrera. And her spiritual meaning of his eyes were like flame of fire. I found it to be apropos to what this discussion is about, because it's really dealing with how history repeats itself and human beings are repetitive in nature. When those two colliding in a good way or bad way can determine the path of our lives, good or bad, right or wrong, up or down, in or out. And so, without further ado, let's get at it.
What's up, world? Let me tell you about this beard growth oil I got from 12 tribes on Earth. 8 ounces of oily goodness with a nozzle that prevents sprays and spills, and soft ingredients that make it perfect addition to anyone's morning routine. From coconut to castor, all these oils are hand chosen. After using this herbal blend, the biggest thing I noticed is how soft, how strong my hair was, and how good I feel. Pick up your bottle today and make your beard the star of the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I was curious about Revelation 1 verse 14, and I went to ChatGPT to get a deeper look of his eyes were as a flame of fire, just to see what it would come up with. I want you to hear what it says.
That's a great question and very symbolic. When Revelation 1:14 says, his eyes were as a flame of fire, it's not random or poetic fluff.
This image carries deep spiritual meaning about Yahshua's divine nature, his righteous anger, and his ability to see straight through people. Let's break it down clearly. 1. Righteous judgment and holy power. In the Bible, fire often represents God's judgment and purification. For our God is a consuming fire. Hebrews 12:29. So when Yeshua's eyes are described as flames of fire, it symbolizes his holy anger against sin and injustice, his pure, consuming truth that burns away lies, his role as judge, not just savior. His eyes don't miss anything. He sees through falsehood, pride, and evil. 2. Eyes that pierce the soul. Nothing in all creation is hidden from God's sight. Hebrews 4:13. Flames of fire also mean piercing, penetrating vision. His gaze sees intentions, not just actions, truth, not just appearances, hearts, not just titles or religions. Yeshua doesn't look at people like we do. He sees the soul and burns away anything fake. Zeal for justice. In John 2, when Yeshua drives out the money changers from the temple, his zeal and righteous fury show us what holy anger looks like. Zeal for your house has consumed me. John 2. Eyes like fire represent that same fire of justice, the passion to set things right, especially for the oppressed. Summary of what his eyes mean, symbol, meaning. Fire, righteous judgment, truth, holiness. Eyes, divine perception, nothing hidden. Flame, purifies evil, refines the faithful, judging. Look, he will separate right from wrong, no compromise. Final thought. His eyes as a flame of fire should comfort the faithful and convict the faith. For the oppressed, the humble, the mistreated, it's a promise that Yeshua sees everything and will not let injustice go unanswered. If you want, I can show you how this connects with the day of Yahweh, Judgment Day, or how his fiery gaze affects spiritual warfare and protection for his people. Would you like that? Beautiful. Let's go deeper into how Yeshua's eyes, like flames of fire, connect to 1. The day of Yahweh, Judgment Day. 2. Spiritual warfare. 3. Protection for his people. 1. The day of Yahweh, Judgment Day. Throughout Scripture, the day of Yahweh, or the Lord, is described as a time of righteous judgment, fire, and reckoning. His eyes like fire symbolize that moment of unavoidable truth when no sin can hide and no injustice can stand. Fire, judgment. The day of the Lord is great. It is dreadful. Who can endure it? Each man's work will be revealed by fire, and the fire will test it. 1 Corinthians 3%. Yeshua's gaze will expose secret sins, hidden motives, hypocrisy, especially in religious systems, injustice toward the poor, the oppressed, and the forgotten. His eyes won't blink. They will burn through every falsehood. This is why the righteous cry for justice and the wicked fear him. 2. Spiritual warfare. Yeshua's flaming eyes aren't just for judgment. They're also weapons in spiritual battle. From his mouth comes a sharp sword. His eyes are like blazing fire. Revelation 19:11. In the final battle against wickedness, the beast, Antichrist system, the nations that oppress his people, his fiery gaze is part of his divine warrior identity. Fire, who's purifier and destroyer. He purifies the faithful like gold through fire. He destroys the enemy with holy wrath. He burns away demonic strongholds and lies. 3. Protection for his people. This fire is not only terrifying to the wicked, it's protection for the righteous. I will be a wall of fire around her, and I will be the glory within. Zechariah 2:5. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him. Psalm 34:7. What this means for you. Yeshua sees your pain, your enemies, and your cries. His fire burns away oppression, racism, injustice, and lies spoken over you. His gaze is a covering, like a watchtower that never sleeps. What you can do. Here are ways to align with that fiery protection and victory. 1. Stay in covenant. Obey Yah's commands and live righteously. 2. Pray for his fire. Ask Yah to reveal truth, expose evil, and protect you. 3. Repent and stay humble. Let his fire purify you before it judges others. 4. Walk in authority. Know that Yeshua fights for you. You're not powerless. Would you like a custom prayer or scripture study for spiritual warfare and protection from injustice? I can also prepare a list of Psalms for divine fire protection, a breakdown of Revelation 19, where Yeshua returns as the warrior king, or a printable armor of Yah toolkit to build your spiritual strength. Just say the word.
Now, this is powerful, and it's applicable to what this discussion is all about. There are three things you can't hide forever: the sun, the moon, and the truth. Stand on the truth. Be humble. Be precise with your word. Don't shrink away from the power that is within. Speak it into existence. Manifest it into existence. Your thoughts, your words, and your action must be of one. Be a person of justice who hates injustice. And I truly hate it to the core of my being. White people are nothing but the butt of the joke of injustice. They eat it every day. Pride covers their hearts, souls, and minds and eyes. They will fall because pride comes before the fall, and they don't even see it. The handwriting is on the wall. They don't see it. So I'm here to tell you, don't fret, because the righteous shall be uplifted, and those who choose to do wrong will be brought down mightily by karma, by Jesus, Buddha, Allah, Krishna, Jehovah, whatever name you want to use. Karma is a bitch when you've been a bitch. But if you've been a good person, it's going to come back to you in fulfillment multiplied by the billion. So don't trip. This is a recorrection of what we're going to be seeing. And hold on, I'm hoping nobody didn't come back as of that, but that's cool. So we're going to go on to a new Islamic empire to save Gaza and Kashmir. Inspirational. Let's hear it.
Hello, I'm CJ Wellerman. In this episode, I'm going to call on Muslims to think about Palestine while imagining a single Islamic world united under a single banner as a single country. But first, please don't forget to subscribe to our show. Now let's get into it. 30,000 Palestinians have now been killed since October 7th, constituting the most vicious genocide in the 21st century. But the worst is still yet to come, as Israel forces famine and starvation upon those who have somehow managed to escape the merciless Zionist killing machine to date. Starving to death is said to be one of the cruelest and most agonizing ways to die, but upwards of 200 Palestinian children are dying this way each and every day, right now, leaving us to watch on helplessly as emaciated babies take that final breath of life with not a single morsel of food in their stomachs, and as young children rummage through the trash in desperate search for anything that might resemble food.
Hold on.
And as newly orphaned children wander the streets in a hopeless search for their dead parents and family members, can you imagine this kind of horror? Doctors Without Borders says children as young as 5 years of age have expressed a desire to commit suicide because of this ceaseless Zionist criminality. Can you imagine that? 5-year-old orphans expressing no will to live. That we have allowed this to happen and continue to happen without intervention should shame and humiliate us all. But our collective rage towards the Israeli and American perpetrators of this genocide is not nearly enough, because none of this would be happening were the Palestinian people first not betrayed and discarded by the leaders of the Muslim world. And the Palestinian people are begging for you to understand this. They desperately want you to understand exactly who they hold most responsible for this endless victimization at the hands of the criminal Zionist state.
يا حكام العرب اسمعوا، يا اللي تركتونا في غزة نموت، يا اللي تركتونا في غزة ننبات، يا اللي تركتونا في غزة أطفالنا ونسائنا وشيوخنا وشبابنا.
Even the starving children of Gaza are acutely aware of how Arab rulers have done nothing to alleviate their suffering. This betrayal runs much deeper than most people are even aware. Emirati Arabs proudly display their Zionist loyalties in the streets of Dubai, as Saudi Arabia vows to normalize ties with Israel even in the midst of genocide, while at the same time refusing to recognize the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. And as Egypt builds even bigger walls along its borders to prevent Palestinians finding temporary safety and shelter in the Sinai. And if none of that makes your skin crawl with utter disgust, then consider this, that at the same time Israel is deliberately starving Palestinian children to death in Gaza, Muslim countries Jordan and Turkey continue to rank as the top two exporters of vegetable and fruit products to the perpetrator of this genocide. Even as Malaysia, a true shining light in the Muslim world, urges these same countries to cut all ties with the Zionist regime. But the terrible truth of the matter is this, that these Middle Eastern regimes are direct beneficiaries of American military and economic power. The United States lavishes money and power on Arab rulers who are unwilling to lift a single finger for the Palestinian people out of fear that doing so will upset their US benefactors. In other words, these regimes profit from US imperialism and they are not even the slightest bit embarrassed about it.
A strategic partner with the United States. UAE is not going to go and fight any of the United States allies. We're going to fight in the same line. We're going to defeat the same enemy. We're going to be there to support you like we did in Afghanistan. Your troops were moving under our aircrafts protecting them. And I think that is how the US should look at it. Having a strategic ally is more important than commercial deal. Because we are not, like I said, enemies. United Arab Emirates does not want to be a friend of the United States. We want to be the best friend of the United States.
And don't get me started on the Iranian regime and its proxy forces. Your so-called axis of resistance is nothing more than shameless propaganda, meant only to boost the Iranian government's influence in the region. It promises to attack Israel, but instead bombs and kills Muslims in Syria, Iraq, and Yemen, and does so even today. And then there's the United Nations, the Arab League, and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. All have not only completely failed in their duties to protect Palestinians from genocide, but also have failed Muslims in India, Kashmir, East Turkestan, and Myanmar, mostly because these international institutions care only about preserving the interests of great Western powers and the oil-producing states in the Arab Gulf. Which now brings me full circle to the point of this episode, and here it goes. If Arabs and Muslims don't start thinking or imagining a new future, then they will never escape Western and Zionist imposed tyranny and oppression. There just has to be a new way of thinking. There has to be a better way. Muslims represent a quarter of the world's population, but most live in crushing poverty and/or under the heel of oppressive regimes that serve only to enrich and empower their rulers. Now, I'm not pretending there's an easy solution at hand, but it starts with thinking outside the box and imagining a new world, one in which all Muslims live in peace and tranquility. So with that in mind, I want to share with you a speech that I came across this week by an Islamic preacher named Sheikh Hamad Saeed, who says Palestinians and other Arab peoples of the Middle East will never escape oppression until they, first, free themselves from the constraints imposed upon them by European colonial-era borders created in the 20th century under the dreaded Sykes-Picot Agreement.
الذين يطالبون الدول العربية يعني فتح المعابر وفتح الحدود. كيف تخاطب إنسانا أنشئ بميثاق سايكس بي. هذا لا يخاطب لأنه في واد وأنت في واد آخر. هذا مشروعه غير مشروعه. أنت مشروعك التحرير ومشروع العبودية. أنت مشروعك إخراج اليهود من فلسطين ومشروعه إبقاء اليهود في فلسطين. أنا أخاطب الشباب أن لا تخاطبوا الأنظمة العربية ولا تسألوها عن هذا الأمر، فليست له أهل حتى نخاطبها، لأن الأمة التي تخاطبكم تحسن الظن بكم وما عدنا نحسن الظن بأحد من هؤلاء.
Certainly. There's a lot to digest there.
You're probably wondering what I'm doing right now.
Wait a second.
At this very moment, I'm activating a vibration.
And to be clear, neither he nor I am advocating armed struggle or resistance, remembering the Arab Spring brought only further misery and bloodshed to the Middle East. The ultimate lesson here is the global Muslim population must start thinking as one Islamic community or one collective ummah, one in which the rules are established by Muslims and not Western powers and the guardians of European colonialism. A united Islamic world, guided by the principles of Islam, including equality, justice and peace, would never allow a genocide to take place in Palestine, and it would never allow 200 million Muslims in India and Kashmir to suffer a similar fate. Again, I don't have the answers here. I'm urging you only to think about new possibilities, like others have in imagining a single Islamic world united under a single banner as a single country. Because as it stands, an overwhelming majority of the global Muslim population is disempowered and voiceless. As illustrated by Saudi Arabia, where 96% of its citizens oppose ties with Israel, but their rulers embrace the Zionist state anyway. A new way, a better way is possible here. First, you have to believe it. The rest will fall into place if enough people believe you too. People power is helping change and reshape the Middle East as we speak. As evident in the way the boycott movement known as BDS has caused Israel's economy to drop by a staggering 20%. This is the kind of change I'm talking about. I will leave it with you to start thinking about ways you can answer his important question. Anyway, that's my time for today. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And
so I'm hoping you guys can see the connection of all of what I've just shown and continuing on with the last few that I have here. But it should be obvious. Do right and right will follow you throughout all the days of your life. But if you do wrong, it'll guarantee it is going to come back to you. That's the power of the universe. You want to call the universe God, Buddha, Allah, Krishna, Jesus, Moses, I don't know. It's the same shit. It's all about balance. It's all about righteousness. It's all about truth and living that virtue or those virtues every day of your life, putting God in front of you. We can only be a holy being, H-O-L-Y, when we become a holy being, W-H-O-L-L-Y. And that means having societies, civilizations, and nations that are there to do the right thing, that are there to fight tyranny, that is there to fight injustice. And so with all of that being said, I'm hoping and I'm praying that people who will see this will understand where I'm coming from and how that will play out. And we're getting into the geologists warn Colorado River hidden danger. So we're going to be wrapping it up, and we're just going to, take the last few videos and mark them and knock them on down, and, I can go to bed. So here we go.
Discovery beneath the Colorado River has geologists issuing a red alert and urgent warning that something massive and potentially devastating is hiding beneath the surface of one of America's most iconic rivers. This isn't a scene from a disaster movie. This is real, and it's happening right now, in plain sight. The calm before the shock stretching over 1,000 per 100 miles. The Colorado River cuts through some of the most breathtaking terrain in the United States, but beneath its flowing waters and scenic canyons lies something ancient, mysterious, and newly awakened. Scientists thought they had mapped everything. They were wrong. What they found could change our understanding of the American Southwest forever. Sonar scans exposed the unexpected. It started with a routine geological scan. Researchers were studying the riverbed near the Grand Canyon when strange anomalies appeared in the sonar data. Perfectly symmetrical shapes, hollow chambers, large, echo-free zones deep below the sediment. At first, the team assumed it was a glitch in the equipment, but ray scans only confirmed the impossible. Something massive was buried deep beneath the river. The buried cavern network as seismic readings ported. A horrifying truth became clear. Under the Colorado River lies a labyrinth of enormous caverns, some larger than football stadiums. These aren't natural formations, at least not by any known geological standard. The patterns are too precise. The layout.
Never brush your teeth or use mouthwash if you can taste your decaying teeth. Have dragon's breath or any type of periodontal issues until you had a chance to see this discovery that could save your life. A recent discovery revealed.
Too organized. Experts fear that something very old and very unstable has been sitting quietly for millennia, until now. A pulse beneath the earth, then came the pulse. Monitors picked up a low-frequency vibration coming from the caverns. It wasn't an earthquake. It was rhythmic like a heartbeat. Geologists were stunned. In all their years studying seismic activity, they'd never encountered anything like it. The pulse is growing in strength, and now it's causing subtle tremors in surrounding areas. Something is moving down there. The cracks begin to form. Small cracks have begun appearing near riverbanks. Campgrounds and hiking trails along the Colorado River are showing signs of unusual soil shifts. Park rangers have reported strange ground noises, groans, and rumbles that seem to come from nowhere. Could these be early warning signs of a massive collapse? Or is it something more terrifying? Native legends, Riwak and indigenous tribes in the region have long spoken of a sleeping serpent beneath the river, passed down through generations. These legends were often dismissed as folklore, but now researchers are re-examining those stories with new urgency. Could these ancient tales be describing the very thing scientists are now struggling to explain?
Federal agencies move in. Within days of the discovery, the U.S. Geological Survey and FEMA were on site. Helicopters, mobile labs, and military vehicles quickly surrounded the area. Civilian access to parts of the river was suddenly restricted with no clear explanation given to the public. Why the sudden secrecy? What are they trying to protect us from or hide? Unnatural heat readings, thermal cameras scanning the area picked up something else, rising temperatures deep below the caverns. In some spots, the Earth is heating up at an unnatural rate. Some scientists fear this could indicate geothermal activity or worse, the beginning of a massive underground reaction that could lead to a full-scale eruption of pressure. The Colorado threat, the implications are terrifying. If these underground chambers collapse or erupt, the Colorado River could be diverted, drained, or even cause flooding across multiple states. Water supply for millions in California, Arizona, Nevada, and Colorado could be disrupted. This isn't just a geological mystery. It's a ticking time bomb, and the clock is already running. Tremors felt across the Southwest. In recent weeks, residents in nearby towns like Page, Arizona, and Moab, Utah have reported subtle but consistent tremors. These aren't typical earthquakes. They're short, shallow, and strangely timed, often occurring in perfect intervals. Seismologists are puzzled. The epicenter always traces back to one spot, directly beneath the Colorado River's mysterious cavern network. Riverside communities growing anxious. People living near the riverbanks have started noticing more than just tremors. Some have seen bubbling water near the shoreline. Others have heard low-pitched hums at night described as metallic, unnatural, and persistent. With no official explanations, fear is spreading faster than facts. The mystery is turning into panic. Whispers of something ancient. Archaeologists now believe the formation could be connected to a lost chapter of North American history. There's speculation that the vast caverns could be remnants of an ancient civilization buried long before recorded time. Strange glyph-like markings found near the site only deepen the mystery. But the river have been guarding secrets of the continent's oldest inhabitants. Drone footage confiscated. A popular YouTube explorer flew a drone over the restricted zone and captured chilling footage. massive depressions forming near the river's bend, strange discoloration of the water, and even glowing cracks visible at night. But the footage was quickly taken down, and the channel received a federal takedown notice. What's the government trying to suppress? Scientists silenced. Insiders claim that several researchers involved in the discovery have gone completely silent.
Smoker's lungs?
Hold on.
Try adding this to a glass of water before bed. Did you know that breathing struggles may not be caused?
No tweets, no interviews, no academic updates. One anonymous source stated, "We were told to stand down and stop investigating. They said it was too dangerous to keep going. Magnetic field distortions detected. Pilots flying over the river corridor have reported strange instrument malfunctions. Compasses spinning. Altimeters dropping without reason. GPS systems glitching. Scientists monitoring the zone have confirmed that the Earth's magnetic field is behaving erratically in the area. Could whatever lies beneath be releasing powerful electromagnetic waves, a chain reaction in the making? Geologists are now warning that the structure might not just collapse, it could trigger a domino effect through the region's tectonic layers. A shift of this size could destabilize fault lines in California, Utah, and Nevada. That means the Colorado River discovery might not be an isolated event, but a catalyst for something far bigger. Insurance industry on high alert. Major insurers are revisiting coverage for properties and infrastructure near the Colorado River. Policies are quietly being updated to exclude unforeseen geological events. That's corporate speak for something bad is coming, and we don't want to be liable. When insurance companies move first, it usually means someone at the top knows what's really going on. Water supply at risk. The Colorado River provides water to nearly 40 million Americans. If the underground system collapses or shifts, it could cut off or contaminate major water routes flowing to Los Angeles, Phoenix, Las Vegas, and more.
You
What
hear that?
happens when one of the most critical water arteries in the U.S. is compromised? Scientists warn it could trigger a humanitarian crisis. The red alert grows louder. For now, the official term being used is unprecedented subterranean disturbance. But internally, multiple agencies have escalated the status to red alert, the highest possible classification for geological emergency.
You heard that?
Something is happening beneath the Colorado River. It's getting stronger, it's getting louder, and soon the whole world might hear it. Underground mapping reveals a monster. With each new scan, the size of the underground network grows. What began as a few irregular cavities now appears to be a vast, interconnected system stretching for miles beneath the river bed. Some chambers are estimated to be over 1,000 feet tall, big enough to hold entire skyscrapers. Scientists have started calling it the monster beneath, and the name fits all too well. Unexplainable pressure build up. One of the most alarming findings is the extreme pressure accumulating inside several of the underground pockets. Instruments placed in boreholes show rising gas levels, temperature spikes, and intense geological stress. If one chamber ruptures, it could release enough force to fracture the surrounding bedrock, triggering floods, collapses, or worse. Local wildlife fleeing the area. Rangers in the Colorado River Basin have noticed an eerie silence in the forests and valleys nearby. Birds, elk, coyotes, even fish are vanishing or moving in strange patterns. Animals are often nature's first warning system.
Unsettling lights at night. Campers and hikers along the river have captured videos of strange, flickering lights near the canyon walls, often accompanied by deep, rumbling sounds. Some describe it as earth-breathing, while others claim the lights look like flames trapped inside the rocks. Scientists say these could be underground gas ignitions or geothermal flares, but even they admit it's just a theory. Satellite imagery blocked. Independent researchers attempting to monitor the zone via satellite have found themselves blocked from accessing updated imagery. Previously open satellite feeds are now showing static or data unavailable messages over the area. In the past, similar lockdowns occurred near volcanic eruptions or military test sites. Why the sudden blackout here? Military transport spotted nearby. Multiple eyewitnesses have reported military convoys heading toward the Grand Canyon and Glen Canyon areas under cover of night. Flatbed trucks, Helicopters and strange dome-shaped containers have been seen along closed-off routes. Is this standard disaster preparedness, or is something much bigger being moved in or out? A race against time with the pressure building and structural integrity deteriorating. Geologists are now working around the clock. Core samples are being rushed to labs. Emergency simulations are running nonstop. The urgency is palpable. Scientists believe a major event could occur within weeks or even days. Every delay could mean thousands of lives at risk. Questions without answers despite all the advanced technology and expertise. No one can say for sure what's causing the pulse, the heat, the pressure, or the magnetic chaos. Is it a natural geological phenomenon? A long-dormant system reawakening? Or could it be something entirely unknown, something beyond the boundaries of science as we know it? Civilian evacuations being considerate sources inside emergency management agencies confirm that evacuation plans are being quietly drafted for towns along the river. While no public orders have been issued yet, shelters are being prepped and routes mapped. The fear? That if the underground network gives way, the resulting collapse could swallow entire regions and send shockwaves across the country. The eyes of the world now watching news of the Red Alert has begun to leak into global media. Scientists from Europe, Asia, and South America are requesting access to the data. Some say this could be the most important geological event of the century, one that could either teach us more about our planet's past or warn us about its future. Either way, the Colorado River will never be seen the same way again.
The river that feeds millions, beyond its beauty and legacy, the Colorado River is a lifeline. It irrigates farms, powers hydroelectric plants, and quenches the thirst of entire cities. But this discovery, this hidden danger beneath its bed now threatens the very balance of the western United States. If anything goes wrong, the impact won't stop at the riverbanks. It will ripple across the economy, food supply, and energy infrastructure of the nation. Geologists compare to Yellowstone. Some experts are now comparing the Colorado River anomaly to the supervolcanic activity beneath Yellowstone. The similarities are shocking heat signatures, magnetic distortions, pressure buildup, and surface tremors. But what makes this even more terrifying is that the Colorado system was completely off our radar, if one such hidden threat exists.
This tiny cooling device beats expensive AC units and works even when the power goes out. It's smaller than a lunch.
How many more are waiting to be discovered? Mysterious metallic echoes. During one deep drilling mission, strange metallic echoes were recorded coming from far beneath the surface. They reverberated like machinery, deep and rhythmic. Some speculate it's simply rock shifting. Others believe it could be an underground fault moving against metallic ore. But the tone measured, cold, mechanical has ignited a storm of wild theories online. Leaked government report. A leaked classified report allegedly titled Operation Deep Watch is now circulating on the dark web. The document outlines contingency plans for geothermal surges and riverbed ruptures in the southwest region. While unverified, it includes maps that align with the zones now under restricted access. If real, it means the government knew more than they admitted possibly for years. Tourism hit with sudden closures. Popular tourist spots like Horseshoe Bend, Glen Canyon, and parts of the Grand Canyon have been abruptly shut down. Official site infrastructure concerns, but insiders say the ground beneath these landmarks is unstable. With millions of dollars lost daily and no reopening date in sight, locals are left wondering, is it safety or secrecy? The Eye of the Earth theory, an emerging theory gaining traction among fringe scientists, suggests this network isn't random at all, but the eye of an ancient system that once spanned continents. If true, the Colorado River may lie at the center of something far older than North America itself. Not just caverns, but a node in a forgotten global structure. The implications are both thrilling and terrifying. When nature speaks, we must listen. This isn't just about a river. It's about the unknown forces that still lie beneath our feet. Forces we thought we had mapped, measured, and mastered. The Colorado River is now speaking to us in pulses, heat, tremors, and silence. The question is, will we listen in time? Or will history remember this moment as the warning we ignored?
It's going to be the one that we ignore. I'm sorry to say, but it is what it is. History has a way of repeating itself, and people forget. And that is the reason why it is so important to understand history and divine judgment or justice or parity in the world. Because this world is really, truly fucked. Right is wrong, wrong is right, justice is injustice, injustice is justice, and a whole line of other things. So, we're about done. I'm going to go to this one now. It's 11 minutes, and I will be right back.
Pacific coast. From southern Mexico to Costa Rica, the ocean seems calm. But deep beneath the surface, the earth is shifting in unsettling ways. Subtle tremors, some barely perceptible, others strong enough to rattle cities, have been rising from the seafloor in recent years. To scientists, these aren't random. They're warning signs, part of a larger, more troubling picture. Lurking just offshore, hidden beneath thousands of kilometers of ocean, lies the Middle America Trench, a massive undersea fault few outside the scientific community even know exists. But to geologists, it's one of the most volatile subduction zones on Earth. While some segments of the fault have released tension in bursts, others have remained eerily quiet, locked in place for decades. Deep, low-frequency quakes, creeping ground deformation, and migrating stress suggest that pressure is now shifting toward these silent zones. With pressure mounting deep beneath the seafloor, a chilling question looms. Is the Middle America Trench on the verge of a catastrophic rupture? Let's find out. Don't forget to click on that subscribe button and like this video, as it's the best way to support this channel.
Say goodbye to expensive scratch repairs once and for all. I never post stuff like this, but I had to share.
The Middle America Trench stretches for approximately 2,750 kilometers, running parallel to the Pacific coasts of Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and parts of Panama. It marks the boundary where the Oceanic Cocos Plate and Nazca Plate subduct beneath the continental North American Plate and Caribbean Plate. This trench is a quintessential example of a convergent plate boundary, where denser oceanic crust is thrust beneath lighter continental crust, creating the conditions necessary for high-magnitude megathrust earthquakes. The subduction process not only forms deep oceanic trenches, but also gives rise to volcanic arcs, mountain building, and seismic activity. In this case, the Middle America Trench has helped shape the Central American Volcanic Arc, a chain of active volcanoes that runs inland along the subduction zone. This arc includes well-known peaks such as Volcán de Fuego in Guatemala, Momotombo in Nicaragua, and Irazu in Costa Rica, each a vivid reminder of the dynamic forces at play beneath the region. The trench itself reaches depths of up to 6,660 meters, and the plate convergence rate along its length varies from 5 to 9 centimeters per year. These seemingly small movements accumulate vast amounts of strain over decades or centuries, which can be released in sudden, violent earthquakes. The subduction zone is geologically complex. The northern portion, particularly off the coast of Mexico, is characterized by tightly locked fault segments. These segments accumulate tectonic stress over long periods and are prone to sudden rupture. In contrast, the southern segments near Costa Rica and Nicaragua display a different behavior, frequent slow slip events and tremors, which suggest some areas may relieve stress gradually. However, this process is uneven and may transfer stress to locked segments, increasing their potential for a major rupture. The Middle America Trench has a long and destructive history of seismic activity, producing several powerful earthquakes with devastating human impact. In 1973, a magnitude 7.0 earthquake struck near Veracruz, Mexico, killing more than 600 people and causing widespread damage. This was followed by the 1985 Mexico City earthquake, one of the deadliest in the region's history. Although the epicenter was nearly 350 kilometers away, seismic waves were amplified by soft soils beneath the city, resulting in over 10,000 deaths. Another notable event occurred in 1992 off the coast of Nicaragua. This magnitude 7.7 earthquake
generated a tsunami that struck the Pacific coast, causing over 100 deaths and substantial destruction. What made this event particularly alarming was that the quake was preceded by little foreshock activity and was not immediately recognized as tsunami-genic. Similarly, in 2001, El Salvador experienced 2 large earthquakes within a month, magnitude 7.6 and 6.6, causing landslides, widespread damage, and over 1,000 deaths. By 2012, large earthquakes in Guatemala and Costa Rica ruptured different segments of the trench, further revealing its segmented and unpredictable nature. Each event has demonstrated that while one part of the fault may rupture, others remain silently locked, storing energy for the next disaster. Seismic behavior along the Middle America Trench has intensified in recent years, with both powerful earthquakes and subtle tectonic shifts drawing renewed scientific attention. One of the most significant recent events was the 2017 Chiapas earthquake, a magnitude 8.2 earthquake that struck off the southern coast of Mexico. Although it occurred within the Cocos Plate, making it an intraslab rather than a megathrust earthquake, it was one of the strongest ever recorded in Mexico, causing nearly 100 deaths and highlighting the region's vulnerability. In 2022, a magnitude 6.9 earthquake off the coast of Guatemala, though more moderate, struck at a shallow depth and was widely felt, demonstrating the risks posed by even smaller events near populated areas. In addition to recent quakes, scientists have observed a rise in slow slip events and low-frequency tremors, especially offshore Nicaragua and Costa Rica. These subtle, silent movements suggest parts of the fault are shifting gradually, while other segments remain locked.
What if I told you you could make passive income creating t-shirts, selling it online, and it only takes minutes to create the t-shirts?
Scientists now warn that several segments of the Middle America Trench may be nearing a critical rupture. Areas like the Guerrero Gap in southern Mexico have not experienced a major earthquake in over a century, despite showing high levels of strain. Similarly, increasing seismic tremors off the Guatemalan coast suggest growing instability. A sudden rupture could trigger a cascading megathrust earthquake, with magnitudes exceeding 8.0. A megathrust earthquake along the Middle America Trench would be catastrophic. Coastal cities such as Acapulco, Puerto Escondido, Puerto Quetzal, La Libertad, and Corinto could face severe ground shaking, leading to collapsed buildings, destroyed roads, and mass casualties. Mountainous regions of Guatemala, El Salvador, and southern Mexico are particularly prone to landslides, which could bury communities and block key transport routes. Perhaps the most terrifying threat is that of a tsunami. The 1992 Nicaragua quake, much smaller by comparison, caused a deadly tsunami. A larger rupture could produce waves over 10 meters high, striking low-lying coastal zones across Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica within minutes, well before many could evacuate. In extreme cases, these waves could cross the Pacific, reaching distant shores like Hawaii or Japan. Secondary disasters such as fires, dam failures, and widespread infrastructure breakdowns would further complicate rescue and recovery efforts. Economic disruption would be enormous, especially if vital trade ports like Puerto Quetzal and Lázaro Cárdenas are damaged, affecting regional and even international supply chains. In short, a megaquake here could paralyze an entire region in a matter of minutes. Recognizing the seismic threat posed by the Middle America Trench, regional governments and scientific institutions have made significant efforts to improve monitoring and preparedness. National seismic institutes in countries like Mexico, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica maintain extensive monitoring networks that include seismometers, GPS systems, and ocean bottom sensors to detect both rapid and slow tectonic activity. International partnerships, including those with the U.S. Geological Survey, and Japan Agency for Marine Earth Science and Technology have advanced research into subduction dynamics. These collaborations have uncovered episodic tremor and slip events, which may offer early warning signs of major ruptures. Satellite-based tools like INSAR are also helping scientists identify areas where stress is silently building. On the civil side, countries like Mexico and Costa Rica have adopted earthquake-resistant building codes and conducted public drills and education campaigns. However, gaps remain, particularly in rural and low-income communities, where infrastructure and access to early warning systems are limited. Tsunami alerts, via sirens and mobile networks, exist in some coastal areas, but coverage is inconsistent. While progress has been made, further investment is needed to ensure equitable protection and resilience across the entire region, especially as seismic risks continue to grow. The Middle America Trench will remain one of the most closely watched seismic zones of the 21st century. As tectonic plates continue to converge beneath the Pacific, the accumulation of stress along locked segments is inevitable. The recent rise in slow slip events and tremor activity offers critical data, but also signals mounting instability in adjacent fault zones. While pinpointing the exact timing of a megaquake remains impossible, modern tools like real-time monitoring, satellite imaging, and historical analysis are improving risk forecasts. Looking ahead, the path to resilience lies in action. Regional governments must strengthen early warning systems, enforce seismic building codes, and invest in public education. Past disasters have shown that preparedness can save lives and limit damage. International cooperation will also be key. Earthquakes and tsunamis know no borders. Shared data, funding, and coordinated emergency responses will be essential for a safer future. The Middle America Trench is a formidable geological force, but it is also a wake-up call. Though we cannot stop the Earth from moving, we can choose how we respond. With science, infrastructure, and collective will, Central America can face what lies ahead, ready, informed, and resilient.
I'm going to buy into what he just said. There's no way, shape, or form we're going to be able to escape the depth, the length, the width, and the height of what is to come. It's going to be devastating, and it's going to take a stronger will than perhaps we have right now when everything is calm and cool and all is good. But I can tell you, it's going to truly test the human will to survive, to thrive, and to rebuild. So now we're coming up on last video, and let me see. And it's 10 minutes long, and I'll be right back.
The river winds through farmland and small towns. A terrifying secret lies buried beneath the earth. It doesn't rumble often. It doesn't crack open the earth without warning. But when it does, history shows it can change everything. More than 2 centuries ago, this hidden fault line violently awoke. The ground convulsed, the Mississippi River flowed backwards, and church bells rang 1,000 miles away. Entire forests sank, and the land reshaped itself overnight. And yet, most Americans have never even heard of this dangerous fault line. The fault is still very much alive, grinding quietly beneath our feet, storing energy, and waiting. Scientists now warn that a megaquake could strike again at any time, bringing devastation across the Midwest on a scale this nation has never seen. Cities would collapse, rivers could shift, and millions could be left in darkness. And unlike the West Coast, this region is not prepared. Today, let's delve into the dangers of the New Madrid fault line and explore the looming threat of a megaquake and its catastrophic impact. Don't forget to click on that subscribe button and like this video, as it's the best way to support this channel.
Before going to bed, try this new habit to fix your gums and teeth overnight. while
In the early 19th century, the American frontier was still in its infancy. Settlers had pushed westward, forming small communities along the Mississippi River in what would become Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Kentucky. It was in this sparsely populated region that beginning on December 16, 1811, the earth began to convulse. The first of a series of massive earthquakes struck near the town of New Madrid, Missouri, at around 2 a.m. The tremor, estimated to have been between magnitude 7.2 and 8.0, shook homes off foundations, cracked the ground open, and awakened people hundreds of miles away. But this was just the beginning. Over the following months, the region was hit by two more catastrophic quakes. On January 23rd and February 7th, 1812, along with hundreds of aftershocks. These were not ordinary earthquakes. They were so intense that the Mississippi River briefly flowed backward. Entire stretches of forest were submerged in newly formed lakes, including Reelfoot Lake in Tennessee. Chimneys collapsed in Cincinnati, sidewalks cracked in Washington, D.C., and tremors were felt as far away as Canada. Had these quakes occurred today in a densely populated and interconnected society, the outcome would have been apocalyptic. In 1811, they were a terrifying glimpse into the raw, destructive power that lies hidden beneath the heart of America. The New Madrid seismic zone is a network of faults stretching roughly 150 miles across the central United States, from northeast Arkansas through southeastern Missouri, western Tennessee, and into southern Illinois. Unlike the famous San Andreas Fault in California, which sits at a boundary between tectonic plates, the New Madrid Fault lies in the middle of the North American plate. This makes its activity especially puzzling and dangerous. Geologists believe that the fault is a reactivation of an ancient rift zone, a region where the continent once threatened to split apart hundreds of millions of years ago. That rifting eventually failed, but left behind weaknesses in the crust. These weak zones continue to be affected by tectonic stress, which builds up over centuries and is released in sudden, violent bursts. What makes the New Madrid seismic zone particularly alarming is its tendency to produce large earthquakes that are felt over enormous distances. Due to the solid, dense bedrock of the eastern United States, seismic waves from a New Madrid quake would travel farther and more powerfully than those from a California quake. A major tremor here wouldn't just affect one state. It could damage infrastructure, disrupt transportation, and cripple power systems across more than a dozen. It's been over 200 years since the Great New Madrid earthquakes, but the fault has not been quiet. Thousands of small earthquakes have been recorded in the region since 1974, many of them too small to feel, but all of them important. These microquakes are the pulse of a still living fault line, signaling that the system remains active. The United States Geological Survey and other seismological institutions estimate there is a significant chance, some studies suggest as high as 40%, of a magnitude 6.0 or greater earthquake, striking the New Madrid zone in the next few decades. While not on the same scale as the quakes of 1811 and 1812, even a magnitude 6.0 event in the modern era could cause catastrophic damage. One major concern is that much of the Midwest is poorly prepared. Unlike California, where strict seismic building codes have been in place for decades, states in the New Madrid region have historically underestimated their risk. Buildings, bridges, levees, dams, and pipelines in this region were not designed with strong earthquakes in mind. In many places, a powerful quake would reduce entire neighborhoods to rubble and leave critical infrastructure inoperable.
If you belong to the 50 million Americans that suffer from chronic tinnitus or ringing in the ears, then this discovery could save your life.
If a megaquake were to strike the New Madrid seismic zone today, the consequences would be profound. Cities such as Memphis, St. Louis, Little Rock, and even Louisville could experience severe shaking. Memphis, in particular, sits near the epicenter of the fault system and has older brick buildings, fragile infrastructure, and limited earthquake preparedness. National level exercise simulations have modeled the effects of a magnitude 7.7 quake in the region. The results were staggering: over 80,000 casualties, millions left homeless, and economic damage exceeding $300 billion. Major highways and railroads crossing the Mississippi River would be severed. Fuel pipelines that supply the eastern U.S. could rupture. Power outages could last weeks. Drinking water systems would fail. Emergency response would be overwhelmed in every direction. And then there is the Mississippi River itself. A repeat of 1811's seismic uplift and subsidence could dam the river temporarily or divert its flow. Ports, shipping lanes, and agricultural supply routes could all be disrupted, adding to an already national-scale disaster. Although the New Madrid seismic zone is hundreds of miles from the nearest ocean, it still poses a surprising and often overlooked threat: inland tsunamis, or seisures. These are massive standing waves generated within enclosed or semi-enclosed bodies of water, triggered by the intense shaking of an earthquake. During the 1811 and 1812 New Madrid quakes, eyewitnesses reported large waves surging along the Mississippi River, capsizing boats, flooding low-lying banks, and, in some cases, even pushing the river to flow backward temporarily. The violent shaking displaced vast volumes of water, creating waves powerful enough to inundate riverfront settlements. If a similar quake were to strike today, the same phenomenon could occur, but with far more devastating consequences. Major cities like Memphis and St. Louis, along with dozens of smaller riverfront communities, have grown dramatically in population and infrastructure since the early 19th century. Critical facilities, bridges, ports, fuel depots, and water treatment plants now line the Mississippi and its tributaries. A large quake-induced seiche could sweep through these zones with little warning, causing localized flooding, structural damage, and additional chaos during an already overwhelming disaster. It's a hidden danger, one that underscores just how complex and far-reaching the New Madrid threat truly is. One of the most frustrating and terrifying aspects of the New Madrid fault is that we don't know when it will strike again. Earthquakes, especially those in intraplate regions, are notoriously hard to predict. What we do know is that stress is slowly building. GPS measurements have shown subtle ground movements in the region, consistent with accumulating tectonic pressure. Historical records, geological trench studies, and paleoseismic evidence all point to a pattern of large quakes striking the New Madrid seismic zone every few hundred years. Awareness of the New Madrid threat has grown in recent years, as authorities have launched education and preparedness campaigns. Some cities have begun retrofitting schools, bridges, and hospitals, but funding is limited and awareness is uneven. Many Americans living in the region don't know they're at risk. Unlike Californians who grew up learning about the big one, Midwesterners are often surprised to hear that their homes sit above one of the most dangerous faults in North America. Though modern society often forgets, the land does not. The scars of the 1811 and 1812 earthquakes still mark the landscape. These are reminders not just of what happened, but of what can happen again. It's tempting to see the Midwest as a stable, peaceful part of the country. But beneath the cornfields, rivers, and highways lies a broken and restless piece of ancient earth. One that has not finished speaking. Scientists can't say exactly when the next big quake will strike. It could be tomorrow, or it could be decades away. But the history, the science, and the silent tremors all point to the same conclusion. It will happen again.
All right, now you heard it from the expert, and we're going to run it up here to look for. I thought I had put it in the queue. Hold on. Here we go. But this is only 10 minutes. Like it's going to be the last one. Hold on. So We're going to do this one and then out of here.
¿Usted está buscando cómo emigrar legalmente a los Estados Unidos? Quédese atento.
Millions living in its volatile shadow. Don't forget to click on that subscribe button and like this video, as it's the best way to support this channel. Stretching more than 40,000 kilometers in a massive horseshoe-shaped band, the Pacific Ring of Fire passes through some of the most densely populated and economically vital regions on Earth. This zone is home to around 75% of the world's active volcanoes and about 90% of the world's earthquakes. For much of the 21st century, isolated eruptions and tremors have rippled along its edges, but recently, a disturbing pattern has emerged. Seismic swarms, awakening volcanoes, and rising tectonic tensions are becoming increasingly synchronized. From Alaska to Indonesia, Chile to Japan, the Earth appears to be preparing for a new cycle of violent upheaval. The Ring of Fire owes its existence to the constant grinding collision of tectonic plates. Along this fiery band, the Pacific Plate converges with several other massive slabs of Earth's crust, like the North American, Eurasian, Philippine, and Indo-Australian plates. As these plates shift, subduct, and grind past each other, immense energy builds up deep beneath the surface. When that energy is finally released, it does so violently, through volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and tsunamis. These interactions are most intense at subduction zones, where one tectonic plate is forced beneath another, generating deep-seated friction and melting rock into magma. Throughout history, the Ring of Fire has been the scene of some of the most catastrophic natural disasters. The 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami, which killed over 230,000 people, was triggered along a fault zone on its western edge. The 2011 Tohoku earthquake off the coast of Japan, which was magnitude 9.1, unleashed a tsunami that devastated the Fukushima nuclear plant and caused more than 15,000 deaths. These tragedies are grim reminders of the ring's explosive potential. Yet today, an unsettling number of signs suggest that such disasters may not be isolated events of the past, but warnings of what's to come. Over the last 2 years, the Ring of Fire has shown escalating signs of reactivation. In Indonesia, one of the most volcanically active nations on Earth, the Mount Ruang volcano erupted violently in April 2024. The eruption sent ash plumes soaring tens of kilometers into the sky, grounding flights and forcing the evacuation of thousands. Simultaneously, other Indonesian volcanoes, like Semeru, Merapi, and Anak Krakatau, have entered new phases of activity. Their synchronized restlessness is worrying geologists, as it may indicate deeper regional magmatic shifts. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, both the Taal and Mayon volcanoes have become increasingly volatile. Taal, which erupted explosively in 2020, began swelling again in 2023, releasing toxic gas and prompting earthquake swarms beneath its lake-filled caldera. Mayon, with its perfect cone and deadly reputation, has shown increased lava extrusion and glowing nighttime activity, an ominous sign of a potential large-scale eruption. Further north in Japan, the usually restless Sakurajima volcano has intensified its eruptions, launching rocks and ash into nearby towns. Earthquake swarms near the Nankai Trough, a fault zone capable of generating magnitude 8+ megathrust earthquakes, have raised fears of a long-anticipated disaster. Japan, with its sophisticated seismic monitoring network, has sounded multiple alerts over the past year, cautioning that these tremors may foreshadow something larger. On the eastern edge of the Pacific, Chile and Peru have also faced a rise in volcanic and seismic activity. The Nevados de Chillán complex in Chile and the Ubinas volcano in Peru have both shown increased emissions and ground deformation. Chile's extensive seismic network has detected more frequent tremors along the Nazca South American plate boundary, the very line that spawned the deadly 1960 Valdivia earthquake, the most powerful quake ever recorded at magnitude 9.5. Meanwhile, Alaska, sitting atop the Aleutian subduction zone, has not been spared. The Shisholdin volcano erupted multiple times in 2023 and 2024, while the nearby Tanaga and Great Sitkin volcanoes also showed increased activity. Beneath the ocean, deep seismic swarms in the Aleutian Trench hint at shifting tectonic stress, an ominous precursor to possible tsunami-genic quakes. Even the relatively quiet stretches of the ring, like the U.S. Pacific Northwest and Northern California, have recorded unsettling tremor patterns. The Cascadia subduction zone, quiet for over 300 years, is again under scrutiny. Scientists believe it is locked and ready to rupture, with the potential to unleash a magnitude 9 earthquake and trigger a tsunami that could inundate coastal towns from Northern California to British Columbia. Individually, these events might be seen as routine outbursts in geologically active regions, but collectively, they raise critical questions. Are we witnessing a broader reawakening of the Ring of Fire? Is there a larger tectonic pattern unfolding beneath our feet? Recent studies suggest that seismic and volcanic activity may indeed exhibit cyclical or cascading behavior. One model gaining attention is that of seismic triggering, where stress changes from one major earthquake or eruption can influence distant faults and magma systems. For example, the 2004 Sumatra quake is believed to have affected stress levels thousands of kilometers away. Another factor is slow slip events, silent, gradual movements along faults that don't immediately cause quakes, but may serve as precursors to large seismic events. A growing body of satellite data, particularly from interferometric synthetic aperture radar, reveals subtle ground deformations that precede eruptions or earthquakes. These changes in surface elevation, sometimes just millimeters a year, suggest rising magma or the buildup of tectonic pressure. When correlated with seismic data, gas emissions, and thermal imagery, a clear pattern emerges. The Ring of Fire is not just restless, it is synchronizing. In 2023, a comprehensive global review by geophysicists from Stanford and the University of Tokyo proposed that the Pacific Plate itself may be entering a new stress phase. Their model, based on decades of crustal movement data, indicates that interactions among its neighboring plates are intensifying. The implications are vast. Such a transition could result in decades of heightened seismic and volcanic activity.
Don't buy another pair of glasses until you've seen what this new invention can do. These self-adjustable glasses.
If the Ring of Fire is truly entering a period of heightened activity, the implications are not just regional, they are global. A megathrust earthquake in Japan could cripple global supply chains. A volcanic eruption in the Philippines could eject enough sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere to cool the planet. A tsunami generated by a quake in Chile could cross the Pacific in hours, devastating coastal cities across Oceania and North America. Moreover, the world's increasing dependence on coastal megacities, many of which lie directly within this hazardous zone, makes us more vulnerable than ever. Cities like Tokyo, Jakarta, Manila, Lima, and San Francisco all sit atop deadly faults or within reach of tsunami-prone coastlines. Rapid urbanization, climate migration, and poorly enforced building codes in some areas mean that future disasters could affect tens of millions of people. The question of whether we can predict these disasters remains fraught. While technology has vastly improved our ability to detect precursors, predicting the exact time and location of a quake or eruption is still beyond our capabilities. What we can do is improve forecasting models, reinforce infrastructure, and invest in early warning systems. Countries like Japan and Chile have made extraordinary progress in earthquake resilience. Their early warning alerts, tsunami modeling, and public education campaigns have saved countless lives. But many regions along the Ring of Fire remain dangerously underprepared. Scientific collaboration, open access data, and increased funding for geological research are urgently needed. Global seismic networks must be expanded and maintained, and volcano monitoring stations upgraded with real-time sensors. As magma stirs and tectonic plates grind ever more restlessly beneath our feet, humanity stands once again at the mercy of forces beyond control. But while we cannot stop the Earth from moving, we can choose how we respond. We can listen to the warnings, learn from the past, and act before the next eruption, the next wave, the next quake.
All right, that's a wrap for tonight until next Saturday. I really appreciate those who stayed. I'm apologizing again for the slight interruption due to the lights going out here in the Dominican Republic. It went out for about 2 seconds. That was it. But let me say this without a doubt, that we are in the path of divine justice. And the entity that is going to be dealing out that punishment is Mother Nature. We're way past the bullshit. We're way past the inequity and inadequacy in regard to how we treat each other. Something has to give. Something has to wake up those who are more righteous than others, and that is black folk versus white people, that will correct this situation. It is a divine justice that is on the way, and it is happening as I speak. And it is going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. I can't begin to tell you how important it is to do the right thing, to not lie, not steal, or not kill. But it is what it is, and there's going to be a cleansing of the earth. Tens of millions of people, unfortunately, are going to die. Trapped below the rubble, drowning in the tsunamis, whatever the case may be. But if you keep your head still and your mind and heart still, you're going to make it through. We have no other choice. The world in which we know it will forever be changed, and America will forever be changed. It will not be the America that we know now, sticking its nose into everybody's business instead of your own. So, with that being said, I am going to always say what I always say. For the next 24/7, 365, stay black and always look forward into the future. See you guys next week.